This is York's only local show on York's only local station. This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
Listen to your show every day. It's really good.
I have you guys on every morning to wake up to.
Gary Sutton, mornings 6 to 9 on Sports Radio 98.9 FM and 1350 WOYK.
All the things you're talking about are all things we're talking about. It's Main Street America every day.
And you're getting your money's worth.
You're a brilliant mind, tremendous experience. You're great for the community.
The Gary Sutton Show on York's first station, WOYK.
You make me want to be a better man.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
You do that for us every single day here on the Gary Sutton Show. Mark McKenzie, Gary Sutton coming to you live from Wellspan Park at Brooks Robinson Plaza, right here in the middle of downtown York. It is a Thursday morning, March the 5th, 2026. And man, is anybody luckier than us today, Mark? I mean, just getting up, being able to do the show and getting at it this morning, all the things that are happening around us on Main Street York and Main Street America, and all brought to you by our presenting sponsors, Ann Stein and Sparler, attorneys at law, 117 East Market Street here in York. And also our other sponsor is kindnessworldwide.org. Yeah, what are you going to do to make the world a kinder place today? Two great sponsors, and we are so proud to have them as our presenting sponsors each and every day. And also, Back 9 text line. Give us a text at 833-478-4729. That's 833-478-4729. You can go to the back9golf.com, York-PA, theback9golf.com/York-PA, and check that out. Also, our Gary Sutton Show question of the day today: what is the biggest problem in the country today? Is a big question this morning, and wanted to see if you could answer that. Give us your thoughts on that. Gallup did a poll, and the nation's top problem, what is it, in your opinion? So get in there and take care of that on Gary Sutton Show at Facebook. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. We're right here, sitting in the building. I mean, you know, we're everywhere. We really are, and so glad to be within. You can also listen to a podcast or replay of our show each and every day at YouTube at WOYK. That's WOYK on YouTube every single day, whether you like it or not. And we're out there every morning just having a great time. That's what we do. We have a morning magazine here, and we like to present all the various things that are going on, some things that are of interest, some fun things, serious things, what's happening in the news, obviously. Everyone's concerned about it all, but we try to mix it up a little bit. You don't throw a fastball every time here in baseball. You mix it with a curve, the change up, the whole thing, Mark.
I agree.
That's what we do every morning. Today, for example, is National Cheese Doodle Day. You know,
I like cheese doodles.
Cheese doodles are okay. I've learned to like them. I used to hate them.
You used to hate them?
I did. Hated. Oh, I hated it. I couldn't even stand it. I couldn't stand the smell of them. I don't know what.
Really?
Yeah, when I was a young kid, something happened. And for a long time, I was dropped in my head a lot. But for a long time, I took a bite of one, and it made me sick.
No kidding.
And so for a long time, I didn't like them. Now, it's just been recent. And because I got some party mixes, I said, okay, it's in the party mix. I'll try it. It's not the only destination there, but it's one of like 3 or 4 in the bottle.
See?
And so I tried it, and my open-minded look at life allowed me to enjoy it.
You have to try again. I think you...
I did. I dusted myself off, little cheese dust, and and I went back, and you know what? And I actually enjoy them now. I would not eat an entire bag of them. I wouldn't go buy them for the cheese doodle's sake, but if they're mixed in with a little party mix, I'm there.
Yeah, I would definitely buy. I like the Cheetos brand.
Yes.
And one thing that I've done with them recently is dip them.
Oh, you told me that the other day.
Yeah.
See, I never thought that they were dippable. I didn't think that I thought they kind of stand by themselves.
A word of warning.
As we said to you, see, ladies and gentlemen, we make important out of the ridiculous, but here it is.
If you're at a party, I wouldn't recommend doing it there because there is residual dust, if you will,
and you're gonna mix up that in, and people. It's almost like double dipping.
Yes,
it's almost like a crime.
Yeah, you don't want to. So what?
And people are watching too. Everybody's got a camera.
If you have the ability to just eat them at home, not at a party.
Sure.
But at home.
Where you don't care.
Right, exactly. Buy them, and then you get a little dish and put some, and you can do all kinds of
And you
things.
can double dip at home, too. Nobody cares about that.
I've
as
even
well.
done tuna fish. I've dipped them in tuna fish.
Yeah, you told me that yesterday, and I always
Yes.
have to add with mayonnaise, assuming.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Okay, all right,
Oh,
good.
yes.
By the way-
You think I'm just saying just tuna?
Yeah, when you said, because
I
now
see.
the reason I mentioned that is I was in Lancaster one time. I was
Okay.
taking my wife for a picnic
All right.
up at Long's Park. So we said, we're going to go over to this place and get some subs. The place looked like a nice little, one of those little
Sure.
Italian places. They looked like they had, nice subs. So we went in there, and I said, I'd like a tuna sub.
sub.
Because that's what it said on the thing.
Right.
And that's what they gave me.
They didn't,
Tuna
nothing else
sub.
in it?
They put
Are
the other
you
stuff in
kidding
it.
me?
So I opened it up. I wasn't watching them making it.
Oh, God, but that must have been like
We
a
get the
new
long
employee.
part. No, we get the long part, tuna, tomatoes, and stuff. And I went, oh. And I tried to eat it. I could. One bite. And
Yeah,
I was
too
done.
dry.
I was done.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
done. By the way, 3 days until daylight savings time, 12 days until St. Patrick's Day, and yet other things going on today too, Mark.
Well, the other food holiday is National Poutine Day.
Didn't we have that just recently? I thought.
I
I remembered us saying something about that.
I don't remember
That's the
it
gravy
being
and what,
fries.
Yeah, all that
yes,
stuff. Yeah.
French fries.
Do you
gravy.
like that?
Yes, love it. It's the national dish of Canada.
Yeah.
And since I'm also part Canadian through heritage, through my father's side of the family, it's really a neat combination, but it has to be fresh and hot.
Yeah, I was going to say you can't
No.
play with that, and,
No.
and that's not one that goes a second time around.
Now, what they do these days is they will put like short rib on it or some other meat.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
I like that. That sounds delicious.
There's a lot of things you could do with
Yeah.
the poutine.
I'll go with you on that.
It's also, when you think about it, it's Cinco de Marzo.
We never hear that.
Right. We usually say Cinco
Did you
de
make
Mayo.
that up, or did someone
No,
mention?
somebody made it up, and I just
It's
saw
also
it, and I
10
thought,
days until the Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March. But
Yes.
Another 5.
Let's take a look at history. It was on this date, 1558. Smoking tobacco was introduced to Europe by a Spanish physician,
Okay.
and boy, what that wrought.
Yeah. Good grief.
On this date in 1770, very important date in American history, because that was the Boston Massacre.
Yeah. And who was the first person killed in the Boston Massacre?
His name was Crispus Attucks.
And our Crispus Attucks Center here in York marks him. That's one of the reasons I mentioned it. Yeah.
5 men were killed. They were in a crowd, and they were definitely being rowdy.
And
They were throwing snowballs,
Some
and
rocks,
stones.
things like that,
yes,
yeah.
And the soldiers fired.
now, what was amazing about that was when they had the trial for these soldiers, who defended them?
Was that John Adams?
John Adams. And boy, did he get heat for that, because people were not in a
Sure.
good mood at that point in time. And they all got off, but one guy who I guess was like the captain of the group, and he got branded on the thumb. Branded on the thumb.
Wow.
That was his punishment.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go.
On this date in 1836, Sam Colt's Patent Arms Manufacturing Company made their first pistol.
Colt 45?
It was actually a 36.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
On this date in 1853, the piano company Steinway and Sons is founded.
Do you know what else was happening on this date in 1963? Did
Tell
you have
me.
this down?
No,
Arthur
I did not.
Spud Mellon. Remember Arthur Spud Mellon?
The name sounds very familiar.
The co-founder, and I get the next part, you'll get it. The co-founder of Whammo.
Oh, really?
And what did he make? And what did he patent?
Well, the Frisbee?
The hula hoop.
Oh,
Close,
the hula
Close
hoop.
enough, yeah. Also
In
ridiculous.
63?
In 63.
What? Oh, it must have been around before that, though.
It may have been, but he patented it in 63,
Okay.
and over 25 million were sold in the first 4
Crazy.
months. I remember getting my hula hoop. And then they'd come apart. They had a little connecting thing. They'd come apart and they'd be useless. And all they were good was this long piece of plastic.
Never had one, but I had tried it, and I couldn't make it go.
Tell you what, it's a great way to exercise. You know, you
Is it?
twist the hips and all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
On this date in 1946, Winston Churchill gave a speech in Fulton, Missouri, and what people remember is his use of the phrase "Iron Curtain."
Yeah.
Yes.
He also was at a He was also at a supposedly at a function. I think this is more lore than anything. But he's at this function. He was sitting next to the Lady Astor, who was like a highfalutin person in society. Yes. And she was sitting there with him. And, you know, Winston Churchill liked to drink a little bit. And she said to him, Mr. Churchill, you're quite drunk. And he said, you're right, Lady Astor. I am quite drunk, but in the morning I'll be quite sober and you'll still look the way you do.
Yes.
Which was, you know, it's not a nice thing. But in true Churchillian way, he was able to put a diss on her.
Yeah, I see variations of that.
I'm not sure if that's not lore,
on my
legendary, you know.
See, that was when they were telling jokes. Now it's on my Instagram feed.
Yes.
Where, you know, and you're ugly. Anyway.
That was kind of what he meant.
Yes, yes. 1971, on this date, probably, if I had to say it's the greatest, I don't know. Is it the greatest rock and roll song ever?
Go ahead.
It was first performed live on this date in Belfast in 1971. Now, if I say
where is Belfast located, by the way?
is that in Ireland?
Ireland. That's
yes.
right. I was leading you.
Oh, all right. Yeah. But
that's why they made the ships. That's where Titanic was made.
If I tell you the name of the group,
go ahead.
You'll probably guess the song.
Go ahead.
But we could have a discussion about whether it is the greatest rock and roll song. And the group is Led Zeppelin. So what's the song? Stairway to Heaven.
Yes. Oh, I hate that song.
That's probably the greatest rock.
Oh.
Or is rock and roll's too?
I wouldn't say that was the greatest song.
You don't think?
No, I don't. No. Now I have somewhat of a prejudice built in, so I admit to that.
Well, what would you say?
Rock Around the Clock Tonight.
Okay.
Would be one that comes to mind.
Or like Revolution by the Beatles.
Or Hound Dog or something like that. Okay. Elvis Presley.
All right, we can have a discussion. And if you'd like to text and be on my side, 833-478.
And if you'd like to text and be on my side, 833-478-4729. Yeah.
All right, a couple more. Just a couple more.
Sure. Shameless plugs, by the way.
On this date in 1995, we had always suspected that this had happened, but there were no bodies. We didn't know what happened to Tsar Nicholas II and his entire family. They were being held by the, what would you call it, the communists? Were they, or the Bolsheviks?
The early version of the communists.
Yes, and then they never saw them again. And they found their bodies in St. Petersburg on this date in 1995.
And of course, entire things were written about Anastasia.
Yes.
This lady that showed up in Germany out of nowhere and then claimed to be Anastasia. And, there was...
I mean, the arc of history is long.
Oh, it's incredible.
Sometimes, I think they were killed, was it 1917?
It was 1917, yeah. They were kept there and they were walked into a room and shot the whole family. Yeah. 44 years ago, in 1982, John Belushi was found dead in his room at the Chateau Marmont Hotel in Hollywood. He overdosed on a speedball, a lethal injection of cocaine and heroin. He was only 33 years old. One of the funniest guys ever, and started out obviously on Saturday Night Live with so many other people who became famous.
Cheeseburger.
Oh my gosh, he was so good. And also, remember the samurai ones? Whenever Buck Henry was on, they would do the samurai thing, like Samurai BMOC, Big Man on Campus, Samurai Delicatessen. he said, what a certain kind of sandwich, and and he goes, this isn't what I want. And then he'd take his sword like he was going to commit Harry Carey. And, no.
It's okay.
Yeah, he was one of the funniest guys I ever saw. I loved him. Yeah.
Lastly, on this date, only because it's a little bit closer, 2019, Kylie Jenner became the world's youngest ever billionaire at 21 years old.
Isn't that amazing?
21.
And you know what? 63 years ago in 1963, Patsy Cline died in a plane crash in Tennessee. Yeah, that's another one. So, I mean, lots of things happened on this date.
Great. I think I'll have a cheese doodle.
There you go. We'll take a break, and while you're having your cheese doodle, we'll come right back after this. It's the Gary Sutton Show on a Thursday morning. Glad to be with you right here on WOYK.
You know, he's was a one-hit wonder. This guy, you probably have heard this song.
Oh, I've heard this song plenty, yeah.
Yes, Electric Avenue. His name is Eddie Grant, and he is 78 years old today. What?
Wow.
I can't believe he's older than me.
There you go.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
It's also Michael Irvin's birthday, Hall of Famer.
Great receiver for Dallas for a number of years, right?
And, yes, and the only other one I wanted to mention was it's the Penn and Teller duo.
Yes.
It's the one that talks.
Yeah.
So which one is that?
That was, let's see, that was Penn, I think.
Yes, Penn Jillette.
Penn Jillette, yeah.
6'6".
He lost a lot of weight a few years ago. He was a big guy, and he lost a ton of weight. And then he became like a talk show host kind of guy. And still have yet to hear from the other guy, Teller.
He's
and never said a word.
Penn is 71.
Yeah. By the way, major loss today. Legendary football coach Lou Holtz died at the age of 89. We told you the other week he had been sick. He led the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to their last national championship in 1988. But he was also known for his quips. He was a guy who did a lot of inspirational speaking. He had been in failing health in recent months, with his family announcing he'd been moved to hospice care in Orlando. In 33 seasons on the college sidelines, Holtz went 249, 132, and 7, with much of that work coming in South Bend, Indiana, where the Irish were 130-2 from 1986 to 1996. And they said, we're deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Lou Holtz. Current Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman said in a statement, Lou's impact at Notre Dame has gone well beyond the football field. He and his wife, Beth, are respected across campus for their generous hearts and commitment to carry out Notre Dame's mission. In other words, they gave a lot of money to the university. His head coaching career took him to William & Mary, North Carolina State, Arkansas, Minnesota, and South Carolina, in addition to Notre Dame. So he was around for a long time. He also tried his hand at pro football. It didn't go so well. Going 3-10 in one season running the New York Jets, he quit with one game left in the 1976 season. And he famously said of his time in New York, God did not put Lou Holtz on this earth to coach in the pros. He said that. He could not have been more correct. Immediately landed in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and leading the Razorbacks to glory. The Hogs were 60-21-2 in Holtz's time there. Only one coach has won more games at Arkansas since he departed, but he'll always be most closely associated with Notre Dame, where 5 coaches have won 11 national championships. The other ones are Newt Rockne, Frank Leahy, Eric Parsegian, and Dan Devine, all considered legends. And Lou Holtz, by the way, is known for his 3 rules of life. Do what is right, do your best, and show people you care. And his philosophy that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. His wit and wisdom often focus on attitude, faith, and accountability. And he dead now today at age 89. Great man. And I heard him speak on a couple of occasions. Very, very interesting. You could sit and listen to him for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned that daylight savings time's coming up.
Yes.
It's this weekend. And everyone knows about the health effects of losing an hour of sleep. Well, our House Call for Health actually has some tips on preparing.
This is House Call for Health. Daylight saving time begins Sunday at 2 a.m., giving most Americans an extra hour of evening light, but one less hour of sleep this weekend. And that seasonal change could impact your body's internal clock. Health experts offer tips on how to readjust your sleep-wake routine. If possible, move back your natural sleep cycle by 15 minutes each day. Doing that 1 or 2 days this week could help. Set your alarm 15 minutes earlier each day and open the curtains to get more exposure to sunlight. Doctors say people should prioritize sleep to maintain long-term healthy sleeping habits. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
We haven't mentioned anything about Nancy Guthrie for a couple of days. They did just find the DNA off the gloves discovered near her home, which were seen as a possible lead in the investigation into Savannah Guthrie's mom's disappearance. She's an 84-year-old lady, obviously. They've resulted in another dead end. The owner of the glove we found working in a restaurant across the street. It has nothing to do with the case. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos told Tucson news station KVOA the other day. The Sheriff's Department clarified in the March 4th statement to USA Today that Sheriff Nanos stated in a recent interview that the black gloves found approximately 2 miles away from Nancy Guthrie's home were traced back via DNA analysis to a person who works at a restaurant in the area, that person is not considered part of the investigation the station said.
Another dead end.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
So let me ask you, do you play games on your phone?
No. I don't play.
No
I
games?
am not a game guy. No, I mean, outside of playing golf and things like that, and
In real world.
and coaching basketball, I don't play games.
Okay.
Now, the only game I will admit to one game that I played, Tiger Woods Wii Golf, I was addicted to for a number of years when I was getting one of my knees done, and I'd sit down and play that. And I loved that. This was the only game I probably played since Pong. You know, that's how dated I am.
And it's not on your phone. You don't play any games on your phone.
No, I don't keep any games on my phone.
Well-
My wife does. My wife likes to do
me
that.
too. I have one game in particular that I play, and I see lots of ads for all kinds of different games.
Sure.
But this could change the gaming world because of a court decision.
Mark a win in the column for Epic Games. Most know them for their longtime metaverse-style game, Fortnite. The company has been fighting the stores of both Apple and Google in an attempt to have them bring down fees. Google is now prepared to back off its commission structure and create a new option for payment processing. Google has an alternative method to avoid fees altogether called sideloading, but sideloading apps is not easy for the average user and comes with less trust with consumers than apps from the Play Store. The lawsuit with Apple did have a judge order changes to the App Store, something Epic still says hasn't happened yet. Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
Yeah, I'm torn. Sometimes I want to download another game, and then another one's like, well, what are you going to do? Just be playing games all the time. So.
Yeah, you have a curiosity though. I mean, you like to you try things out. I appreciate that. I have no curiosity with that. But I appreciate the fact that you do, and then you report on it, which is good because then I don't have to do it.
That strangest game, and I mentioned it here before, I believe. You're set in. I mean, this is how crazy games are. It's not just shoot 'em up or the kind of gambling type one-armed bandit games. This one was you're in the early Middle Ages and you are helping people survive the Black Death, the bubonic plague.
Yeah, what couldn't be a brighter, cheerier day than that, huh? It's
crazy.
See, to me, another game on my smartphone would be another reason to make my smartphone a Frisbee. I'm always using, because I throw board games as it is, and now I would be throwing my phone. I can't afford to do that because that has my life on it. So anyway, we take a break. We come back. Chris Markowski, the watchdog on Wall Street, who never gets fired up, will join us here on the Gary Sutton Show as we talk a little bit more about what's happening in Iran and maybe some of the things that are happening here at home with regard to what the economy is going to look like. We've already seen gas go up very quickly. We'll talk about more with Chris here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, where it is 6:30. Isn't this the guy who used to throw the guitar around all the time?
Yeah, Pete
Peter
Townsend.
Yeah. The Who?
He's not throwing anything now.
No. Except his hip out when he tries to walk, probably. But
These days.
Yeah,
me too.
Remember this song very well. Welcome back to Gary Sutton Shore.
1980 bumper music.
Yeah, Let My Love Open the Door.
My love
And yeah,
opened the
there
door.
you go. Well, we've opened the door this morning for Chris Markowski, the watchdog on Wall Street, who comes in about this time every Thursday at 6:35. A beautiful segue, by the way, into his segment. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning.
You love that. I mean, just seamless. I tell you. Great to have you in this morning. Let's see what should we talk about. What's different this week than last? Oh, that's right. Yeah, we've invaded Iran with the attack, and obviously, a lot of people of goodwill are just trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? What are the answers? How long will we be there? What is this all about? I heard the president say yesterday that if we would not have attacked, they are 2 weeks away from a bomb. We've heard that one kind of before. I thought we had knocked that out before. Again, I'm waiting to be able to support the president here. I'm not looking for what's wrong, but I need explanations. I know you're the same way. Talked a little bit this morning about your thoughts now, kind of almost 1 week into this thing.
Yeah, the messaging is all over the place. And
Right.
it's very, again, I'm once bit, twice shy. As an American and what we've been going through for decade after decade after decade, I really don't seem to understand it. No one's been able to articulate it. You've got some people out there saying, no, this is not a war. Then some president coming out calling it a war. And, Pete Hegseth, makes it sound like
Right.
It's like the battle of civilization every single time he talks, almost talking in cliches. It's very, very difficult to get your arms around. The polls, as I've been looking through, in my life, there's never been a military conflict or war that's been less popular, especially at the outset, as this. So I don't know how you get the people around this. I don't know what the end game is with this. It seems to me that we've already miscalculated in the sense that we thought that this was going to be over in a very short period of time, like Venezuela. Now, again, we have to deal with restocking. We don't, ammunition issues. You had the Secretary of State, Freudian slip in one of his statements saying that it's a war of attrition, and we're not going to do well with that. I mean, he actually came out and said that. So I'm praying that it's over sooner rather than later. That's the only thing I can do at this point in time, and anybody, and that's what we all should be doing, is praying that this is over very, very quickly.
I was trying to get some sense of where the people were on this in the polling, and I always look at the RCP average, the Real Clear Politics average, and they said 43% of people approve it, 48.6% disapprove so far in the average of all the various polls. So I don't just go in and concentrate on one. Obviously, some polls have a much wider range. But, the whole idea here is that I think we need one voice to tell us, here's what's happening. The one guy that I've been listening to is this General Kane, who seems to be fairly reasoned in terms of what he's looking at and fairly down to earth and concrete about it. And he seems to say, well, we'd like to say it's 4 weeks, but he said it might be 3 weeks, it might be 5, it might be more. But again, he's the one voice I've heard so far that I've been listening to pretty regularly.
Yeah, and, some of the things that are being floated, and I know you're a student of history, now getting back into arming militias, and we're going to arm the Kurds. And to be quite honest, we have sold them out more than any other nationality on the entire planet over the past 100 years. What's that going to turn into? I mean, we've seen this movie before. It was called Charlie Wilson's War. And, we funded militias in Afghanistan to fight the Soviets. And that was, hey, there's Al-Qaeda, there's Osama bin Laden. Turn those guns around, pointed them at us. I don't see, any sort of end game right now. Hopefully there's an off-ramp. I mean, there's been buzzings here and there that, Italy is trying to negotiate on our behalf, trying to get some sort of off-ramp with this, because there's major issues here that, unfortunately, most of the media is not covering. The fact of the matter is, you got a major city like Riyadh, they have a desalination plant where they get 60% of their water from. That gets knocked out. Then what?
Yeah.
Not to mention, where does most of their food come from? Through the Gulf of Hormuz. Anybody who thinks that the U.S. Navy is going to act as escorts through there is crazy, because that they're basically sitting ducks. It's like marching your army through like a valley with people. I mean, it's 35 kilometers wide. I mean, we can't do that. You're not going to put billion-dollar equipment to move tankers through. It just can't happen. So, again, I'm kind of confused by the whole thing right now, what's going to happen next.
And I think that's the key here is that I don't care what side of the fence you're on this. It's not a right or left thing or anything like that. It's more from the standpoint of, okay, what's happening? Connect the dots for us. We want to know what the purpose is. We're with the military. I have a friend I talk to. He always talks about the mission. What is the mission here? And what are you trying to do at the end? Okay, obviously you don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. I think the president has been very clear about that even before he was president. So I'll give him credit for a clear message on that. So once you've taken out that ability, you've now taken out the regime. And then what are you left with? Who's going to step in there? No one's quite sure exactly who that is at this particular point. And then, we're looking at oil prices going up. Obviously, gas prices have gone up 20 cents since the beginning of the week. A gallon, and that may be short-lived, but you have all these different parts to this, and then the people who elected the president didn't. I think most people, the MAGA people they're called, and other people who elected President Trump, didn't elect him to get involved in all these various things, and yet here we are, and people are saying, well, someone else should have been involved before, taking care of it. Here we are now. So you got about 18 million questions attached to this, Chris.
I mean, they Nikita Khrushchev this thing. We are not going to war in Iran. We're staying out of wars. That was, that's what people voted for, quite frankly. I mean, people are tired of this stuff. To watch the various different ways that these, Republicans are twisting, it's like Twister out there, twisting things around and trying to find justifications for what's going on, where they campaigned on the exact opposite. I mean, they used to make fun of John Kerry because remember flip-flops back when he was running against Bush. This is a flip-flop, to say the least, in a myriad of different ways. It's one statement after another, after another, after another. And again, we're being told they're close to a bomb, with the Pentagon saying no, they weren't.
Well,
So,
politically, it's a hard chasm to jump over because you're saying, okay, Make America Great Again was the idea of, getting things right here at home, domestically, making things better, getting trade to be better, getting, the cost of inflation down, all those kind of things. Very important. And yet at the same time, they're now trying to make the case. I've heard a lot of people the last couple of days on the Republican side of things saying, well, this was Make America Great Again because we're protecting our country. We're making sure that we're safe. That's part of Make America Great Again. And it's a long nexus that you have to make there to make that case.
I've been hearing this for so long, and I go back to the turn of the century and where we were as a country fiscally, and compare it to where we are today, and how many times we're told we're making the country safe, and we spent $8 trillion and counting on all of these different wars, which are now on my card, my kids' credit card, and God willing, someday my grandkids' credit card. You know what? You want to do this? I got a new way we got to fund wars here. You got to go right to the American people, say, okay, you got to pay for it. Put a sales tax on everything here in the United States and say, you know what? We have to start paying for our wars. Everybody's got to chip in. It's going to be a sales tax. And then see how popular these wars are.
Speaking of taxes, and I want to switch up here for a moment, I was reading an article today about California. And California's got this $200 billion a year Medicaid program. It's known as Medi-Cal. And it's one of the largest public health care systems in the nation. Behind the staggering price tag lies a program repeatedly flagged for waste, mismanagement, and fraud, raising fresh doubts as state leaders propose taxing billionaires to keep it afloat. So what they're finding is they've got all kinds of stuff behind the scene there. For example, 7 individuals in February, the Attorney General, a guy named Rob Bonta in California, accused 7 individuals of cheating Medi-Cal of $3.2 million through fraudulent hospices in Monterey County. So here's what they plan on doing now. The progressive lawmakers and labor unions are pitching a first-in-the-nation wealth tax on billionaires as a response to these cuts. While advocates say the funds are needed to sustain coverage for 15 million Californians, critics argue that the wealth tax ignores Medi-Cal's core problem of mismanagement, which undermines any attempt to save it. So here you have a program which has got all kinds of wealth mismanagement or mismanagement throughout it, and now you're going to go out and tax the billionaires to somehow keep a bad program going. I don't get that. Do you?
No, I, without a doubt. As far as, well, again, a wealth tax is one of the most unworkable, moronic things I've ever heard of in my entire life. And actually, the Netherlands just tried to institute one, passed through their house, and everybody freaked out, and they ended it because they knew everyone was going to move. However, do we need to fix our tax code and make it a page long? Absolutely. Because, it's not the 1% that, we got to be concerned about. It's the 0.1%. They're not even getting paid income tax. They're not even getting income.
Right.
Mark Zuckerberg gets paid $1 a year. He gets paid in stock. So tax that the same way we all get taxed, and that's all well and good. But as far as waste, fraud, and abuse, you just pour more money, there's going to be waste, fraud, and abuse.
Right.
E pluribus unum, we got to throw that out. Our new motto is waste, fraud, and abuse. You watched the hearing over the past couple of days with Nome and the Department of Homeland Security.
Right.
I mean, for crying out loud, $227 she ran in commercials of herself. Money going to various different contracts, companies that never had a government contract ever, and they were basically incorporated a couple of days before the money was given out. We live in a country of waste, fraud, and abuse. That's why they got rid of Musk. That's why both parties got rid of Musk, because he would have discovered the whole thing.
Right.
And that's the issue. I mean, all we do is get ripped off as taxpayers.
Yeah, and I was looking at all the stuff inside of Christy Nome's plane and all that. It was, oh my goodness, the whole thing's crazy. But that, as you said at the beginning, I'm reading this article. It says, with no desire to stop the fraud, California politicians insist that they will start taxing the assets of the richest Californians. So what does that happen? What happens then? One of them came out and said, well, when the richest Californians leave, the middle class will be the only group left to plug the hole because they are the largest collective taxpayers in the state. So once you get rid of the wealthy, who picks it up? The regular folk again, and you're going to get taxed again, right?
Well, they all moved to Florida. They're all moving here. That's the reality. I mean, they keep buying houses here. That's the reality of the situation. It's a state that's run well. It makes sense. And we're looking to get rid of property taxes here in our state. So, again, there's a right way of doing things and a wrong way of doing things. And, when you have something that's, it's got a hole in it, your pool's got a hole in it, okay, and the water's going down, you don't just keep filling it with water. You got to fix the hole first.
Exactly.
It's just stupid, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
It's nuts to me.
There probably is a movie line there somewhere, and I feel a little cheated this morning because you didn't come out with any good movie line, but, I get it. I get it, my friend. Hey, have a great week. I'll catch you again next Thursday morning, okay?
I got one for you.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give you Michael Corleone telling his brother-in-law, stop insulting my intelligence, because that's how I feel when it comes to this war right now with all the nonsense out there, because it just makes me angry. That's all.
It makes me angry. Stop insulting my intelligence. It makes me angry. Yeah, okay. Very nice. Very nice. And by the way, the second Godfather movie, that came out. But, hey, excellent stuff. I appreciate it, man. Have a great week, all right?
You got it. Have a good one.
Yeah, Chris Markowski, the Watchdog of Wall Street. I always felt cheated, Mark, and at least he laid that on at the end. I think that might have been the first Godfather movie at the end when he's talking to his brother-in-law before he has him strangled.
No, I'm impressed that he was able to do that.
Right at the drop of the hat.
Really, I mean.
Well, he always goes to the Godfather, though. That's like his.
Does he?
That's his where he dips in case he needs something. He has it like in storage all the time.
I see.
Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll come right back. We got a lot more coming your way. What's around the corner here, Mark?
Well, my complaint about Hollywood just has no new ideas.
Yeah, you've been known to complain about that a little
And
bit.
I have more evidence.
All right, we'll do all that. And plus the Epstein files surfacing again here in terms of what's going on. The House committee has subpoenaed Attorney General Pam Bondi about what? We'll find out next also on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. And welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show at WOYK. It's a Thursday morning here, 6:51, and Mark's got a story for us.
Well, I constantly complain that there are just no new ideas.
You're saddened by that.
There are no new ideas.
And we need some now.
We do, but you're not going to get them.
Quit recycling.
You're not going to get them.
Yeah.
And here's more evidence.
Netflix revealed the premiere date for its Little House on the Prairie reboot based on the beloved Laura Ingalls Wilder book series. The new series is set to launch July 9th, and they already greenlit a second season of the show. The logline reads in part hopeful family drama, part epic survival tale, and part origin story of the American West. The new version is expected to follow the Ingalls family as they leave Wisconsin to settle in Independence, Kansas. According to Netflix, the adaptation will offer a kaleidoscopic view of the struggles and triumphs of those who shaped the frontier. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Kaleidoscopic.
I know. Do we need another Little House on the Prairie? But, you and I continue to say, well, this introduces a new generation to old stories that we saw, I guess, but... Right. I don't know. I mean, can you why don't you just recycle the old ones and let them see that?
Well,
they were pretty good.
I will say this. They, when some of these shows were on before, there were, certain limitations on technology and, maybe they were shot on film maybe or early video. And they certainly could make them, digitally now. So, it would look probably much better. But I don't know if the actors would be better.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, forget world peace.
Yes.
Forget the Iran war. The things that really matter right now, Chick-fil-A changed their waffle fries due to backlash. Yes.
What
Under the
backlash?
really important stuff. Well, I did not know about this.
How did they
By the
change?
way, would someone please tell me, and listen, I know Chick-fil-A sandwiches are good. I know their chicken's good, all that stuff. Would someone please tell me why you're willing to sit in a line and they've got people standing out in the rain taking your order. I mean, I go by
It's
our
not
Chick-fil-A.
that good.
Nothing is that good. I mean, I wouldn't sit in a line to see me. But, the bottom line is, I see lines that are insane.
Yes.
And it's not just one Chick-fil-A, it's all of them.
Well, they were going to put another one up. There's one in the Belmont, in Lancaster off of Fruitville Pike. They were going to put another one. I think it was in Mannheim near the airport. Huge property. They said it wasn't big enough to accept the lines.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's great. Well, anyway, this story.
Thank goodness they're closed on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean they have to get a breath.
Yeah.
So anyway, don't let anyone tell you that your voice doesn't matter. If you speak up, you can effect change. In French fries, at least, okay? Here you go. Chick-fil-A, a world-breaking announcement, has announced they have removed pea starch from their waffle potato fries.
Pea starch.
They added it 2 years ago to help the fries stay crispier, but that was not a popular move, apparently. A lot of customers complain that the pea starch changed the texture and flavor, and they've been pushing for them to return to their original recipe. It's unclear when they made the change, but it sounds like it's been done. Effective immediately, a customer support page of the Chick-fil-A website now includes this response. Quote, does your waffle fry recipe contain pea starch? No. That's PEA, by the way. And they've also updated the ingredients on their website to nix pea starch. Everyone seems happy about it. Wow. One person online said, I'm going to miss that pea starch, said no one. That's in People magazine. That's how darned important that was.
See, the company is listening to its customers.
And way to go.
And Johnson & Johnson is also doing that. They just started a new website, and this is for some medicines, not all.
Johnson & Johnson will be selling some of its drugs directly to U.S. patients who either don't have insurance or pay for their drugs out of pocket. The website is called J&J Direct and currently lists 3 drugs, a couple of diabetes treatments, along with blood thinner Xarelto. The company has vowed to improve direct access to its drugs as part of a deal it reached earlier this year with President Trump to slash prices in exchange for exemptions from tariffs. Last year, Johnson & Johnson committed to invest $55 billion in the U.S. over 4 years. Hillary Barsky, Fox News.
And here's another story. We'll kind of use this to lead into next hour because we have Congressman Scott Perry on at 7:05 this morning here on the Gary Sutton Show, and he's involved in this next story. The Epstein files. House committee, the House Oversight Committee, voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi again for a deposition on the Department of Justice's handling of its investigation of Jeffrey Epstein, the predator, and its compliance with a law requiring all documents related to the notorious sex offender be made public. The 24-19 vote by the committee came after the growing criticism of the Department of Justice for failing to release all the Epstein files and reports that it has removed from public view tens of thousands of documents that previously were made public. Now, the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi for this deposition. The motion to subpoena Bondi was introduced by Representative Nancy Mace, who is a South Carolina Republican who blasted the DOJ earlier Wednesday over its suppression of many of the Epstein files. Mace also posted a YouTube video showing her entering the motion at the House Oversight Committee. In addition to Mace, 4 other Republicans joined most of the panel's Democrats in voting to subpoena Bondi, who is a Republican. Lauren Boebert of Colorado, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, Michael Cloud of Texas, and Congressman Scott Perry of Pennsylvania. And Congressman Perry is going to be with us at 7:05 this morning. In addition to what's going on in Iran, we're going to ask him about, this whole thing and what's causing this. The DOJ, under the Epstein Transparency Act, passed nearly unanimously by Congress last year, was required to publicly release all of its files on Epstein and his convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. After making more than 3 million documents public in late January, the DOJ said it would not release the rest of the Epstein files, which totaled more than 2.5 million documents. Since then, media outlets have reported that the DOJ had removed the files from public view. Some of the files withheld had included memos and notes about FBI interviews, including those of a woman who has alleged that President Donald Trump sexually abused her when she was a minor, apparently. And allegedly. Trump has never been charged with wrongdoing in connection with Epstein and has said he was unaware of his former friend's criminal conduct. So we'll get into some of that with Congressman Perry this morning.
We have two text messages.
Go ahead.
Al says, John Lennon question, more popular than Jesus. I don't know if
It was correct. And we put that, I put out the answers, by the way, this morning personally in all the... but it is, he said he's more popular than Jesus. Some people said God. If you're in the Christian religion, you might say, well, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
But that was said in the Bible a few times, but it was Jesus. Yeah.
And Jack Kennedy says, cheese doodles are good because you're supposed to have more color in your diet. I agree.
Boy, is that a rationalization to one of the 7 main food groups. Cheese doodles are not in those.
More orange or yellow, please.
There you go. Thank you, Jack. We appreciate that. Coming up next, we have Congressman Scott Perry from the 10th Congressional District on the latest on the Iran war, his thoughts on that almost a week into it now, and also about the Epstein files where he voted to subpoena Pam Bondi before this committee, the Oversight Committee in the House. All straight ahead on the Gary Sutton Show. Lots to do today. Having a lot of fun. Stick with us. We'll take a break. We'll come right back with more after news at the top of the hour. This is the Gary Sutton Show, the main street of York and York County, right here on 98.9 FM and 1350 WOYK at 7 o'clock.
This is York's only local show on York's only local station. This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
Listen to your show every day. It's really good.
I have you guys on every morning to wake up to.
Gary Sutton, mornings 6 to 9 on Sports Radio 98.9 FM and 1350 WOYK.
All the things you're talking about are all things we're talking about. It's Main Street America every day.
And you're getting your money's worth.
You're a brilliant mind, tremendous experience. You're great for the community.
The Gary Sutton Show on York's first station, WOYK.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
And welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show here on a Thursday morning. It is hour number 2. It's the 5th day of March 2026, 7:05. All brought to you by Ann Stein & Sparler, attorneys at law, 117 East Market Street right here in York, where their primary focuses are estate planning, estate administration, family law, that's divorce and custody, elder law, municipal law, military law, and so much more. They've been around since 1937, and they are ready to help you right now if you're on any of the main streets here in York County, no matter where it is. They're located at 117 East Market Street right here in York. You can call them at 717-846-8811. Their hours are Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5, and they are ready to help you get legal help when you need it. That's right. 1937. They have been doing this for a long time, and I'm telling you what, they are ready to help you today. Also, Kindness Worldwide. You can find them at kindnessworldwide.org. All started with an act of kindness here in York County. And out of that, Kevin Smith created Kindness Worldwide, a global nonprofit with a vision to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. And inspired by an act of kindness right here in York County, the story is proof that no act of kindness is too small to make a difference and change a life. And, of course, our text line today, 833-478-4729. What's the biggest problem that we have today in the country? That's also our question at Gary Sutton Show on Facebook, where you can check that out, too. And our Back Nine text line is sponsored by the Back Nine, York's premier golf indoor location right now. Everybody's flocking out to it. theback9.com/York-PA is where you can go to find out more about that today as well. We're honored this morning to have with us here at 7:06 Congressman Scott Perry from the 10th Congressional District. Busy time right now. And good morning, Congressman. How are you?
Well, Gary, good morning.
Well, we finally...
A little foggy out there, but, spring's coming.
Foggy out there in terms of maybe what's going on, too, for a lot of people, because there's a lot of questions being asked. Obviously, we're almost 1 week now into the Iran, whatever we want to call it, I'm not sure. But yesterday the Senate tried to pass a War Powers Act that said that the Congress would have a say before the president was allowed to go into this. That failed. It's coming before your body today in the House of Representatives. Same kind of thing. Talk a little bit about your thoughts here, almost 1 week into this. A lot of people asking a lot of questions, and maybe you can give us some answers this morning.
Well, look, I support the action. I think it's long overdue, quite honestly. I was here when President Obama signed the Joint, Comprehensive Plan of Action. We call it the JCPOA, which essentially functionally, and by the way, that would have expired, I think, last year. So it would have let Iran, it would have just delayed their march towards a nuclear weapon while they built up their arsenal of conventional weapons, including ballistic missiles. And I thought that was really, really in poor judgment. Of course, President Trump won and then got out of it, but they didn't stop. And so we lived, and the whole world, not just the United States, the whole world lived under this cloud of, at what moment are the crazy Ayatollahs that hate Israel, hate America, the big Satan, going to launch a nuclear strike? And once they had that capacity to do that, how were you going to negotiate with them? What leverage were you going to use? Because, again, you're not talking about rational people. You're talking about people that demand that we all submit to Allah. And unless you do, then they have the absolute right to kill you. And so, we knew that they were rebuilding their capacity. Of course, President Trump hit them earlier on in the term, just on the nuclear side. But we knew they were rebuilding their capacity and had the ability to, within days or weeks, complete a nuclear weapon and deliver it through their ballistic missile capacity, which they were also not only rebuilding, but increasing in speed and volume. And so I think that the other thing that needs to be considered here that was different than most other times is the Iranian people themselves have risen up thousands, tens of thousands of them murdered by the regime, tortured, etc., for having a difference of opinion. But the point is they're willing now and showed the willingness to take over their government. So what we don't want to be doing is what we did in Iraq, which was kind of take over, destroy the entire government operation, and then try and install a Western-style democracy. Didn't work in Iraq. 20 years in Afghanistan, same thing. So what the president wants to do is decapitate their military ability and the government, the current governing system's ability to torture, torment, and murder its citizens, and then leave it up to the people of Iraq or of Iran. Well, it's Iraq too because they control Iraq, but leave it up to them to decide how they're gonna govern.
Yep.
As long as we might not love it, Gary. We might not love it, but as long as it's not through proxies and itself threatening every single one of its neighbors, including the entire globe. Because you got to remember, organizations like Hezbollah are in South America and Central America, so it's not just over there; it's right in our back door. So as long as they're not doing that and wholesale murdering their citizens, look, what they decide is going to be, I guess, what they accept, and we can accept that too. We don't have to run it. We don't have to be there. But we can't live every day with this sword hanging over our heads, not knowing at what point they're going to exercise, their capability to murder and torture everybody else on the planet. And so I'm happy for the action. I think it's going to be short-lived. When I say short-lived, it's going to be a matter of weeks or maybe a couple months, and then I essentially think our part in it's going to be over. What comes out of it, we're not sure yet. I think we're going to try and shape that, of course, but you got to understand, so is Russia, so is China, so is Turkey. So it's not a given. The question is, I think, will we be better off, and the world be better off without the Ayatollahs than with them?
I think also
the answer is clearly yes.
Yeah, a lot of the questions that people have, Scott, are going to be, okay, have you been able to take out the ability to still be a proxy for Hezbollah, for the Houthis, for Hamas, and all those various kind of groups as well? And who's going to step into that void? Once all these, they've pretty much decapitated the government, there's still some people left behind. And yet at the same time, who's going to step into that void? Will it be better than what we had before? Obviously, we're not very good at nation building. We're not going to get into that and stick around for that. But those are big questions. And I think the other part, too, is, and I just wanted to throw this to you, the messaging that's come out so far has not been just one voice. And I think people kind of need to hear that, because people like me are looking to support the president, looking to support the action here because my country doing it. And I'd like to just know, a little bit more about it. Maybe because of the way it is, it's more open-ended, and yet at the same time, we've seen us repeat mistakes in the past going into countries and sticking around for too long. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think, like I said, I don't think this president has any intention, based on his actions and his rhetoric, of going in and sticking around. I think this is, people are calling it a war. I'm calling it kind of like a beatdown. It doesn't seem like, Iran has much capability to conduct operations of a war. They're just taking a whooping, right? So I do think that there are reasonable questions about what comes next. And in that context, again, I think you have to look at it in terms of, are we going to be better off with what we get than what we have now?
Exactly.
It's hard to have something worse than what we have now. Might not be a lot better, but I think that their ability to use their proxies to impose terror on all their neighbors. And remember, this is Iran right now, lashing out at more Muslim countries than any other country in history, lashing out at all their neighbors, their so-called I guess they would be supporters in the region. That's who they're lashing out at right now, including also Israel, and trying, if they could, to lash out at the United States. Yes, I think that is going to be decapitated, and we're going to set the conditions and open the window of opportunity for other voices in Iran to be heard, including the Shah's son, who wants to go back. I'm not sure the Iranian people want him, or just what other kind of system they can set up, or maybe even a similar system than that we have now, but A, not as oppressive, and B, without the capability to threaten all of the rest of the world. And I think that's really, really important.
Scott, a more general question. Again, we're talking to Congressman Scott Perry this morning for the 10th Congressional. You'd have to say, and again, I'm just looking at this objectively, the president has certainly changed the paradigm on how we deal with other countries. Do you look at what we did in Venezuela? When you look at some of the other places that we're dealing with, talks with Greenland and different things like that, but certainly Iran, he has certainly changed the paradigm on how we, the United States, are dealing with this. And, for some people, they worry about, are we being looked at as more of an aggressive kind of country now? How would you describe our role in the world at the moment? Because for a long time, and you've heard this, people will say, we don't want to be the world's policeman. And yet at the same time, it kind of seems like we've done some of that. I'm not quite sure how to portray that. And I wondered if you had a thought on that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I got to just set the conditions here a little bit. I think most people go through their daily lives not thinking about this stuff, right?
Exactly.
They got things on their mind. There are things right in front of them, and they got to deal with this. But what the president is doing, you got to remember, we live in a world that was kind of set up since World War II, where the United States was the leader around the globe. We were almost the undisputed world power for a while. Russia did. China's trying to do that now. But during the course of our lifetime, Gary, since World War II, our influence has been waning, and other countries have been rising to challenge us. And we've lived in a world where we've never had to think about that. We've never really been challenged militarily, economically, or otherwise. But that has been slipping over time, and the indicators are everywhere, with places like China and the BRICS nations trying to start their own currency, with China building a military to rival ours, with China taking land and sea lanes and controlling them so that we can't, and then taking our supply chains like drugs, steel manufacturing. That all signals like the decline of the United States of America. And when people did think of it, when they got away from trying to deal with their mortgage or their kids or whatever troubles they had, they had to kind of admit, look, America was internationally kind of on a sliding track towards irrelevance. This president, in essentially 1 year, has reset the entire world order. You look at Venezuela. Venezuela shipped drugs into the United States of America, gang activity and criminals with impunity. Nobody did anything about it, and Americans just thought, 100,000 Americans die every year because of fentanyl or drug poisoning from south of the border cartels, and we just have to put up with this. And the president said, no, we do not have to put up with this, and we're not going to put up with this. We don't want to run Venezuela, but we're not putting up with that, and we're going to do something about it. Same thing with Iran. Now, internationally with tariffs, of course, tariffs, it does create in some industries and at some level a problem for American consumers. But you know what else creates a problem for American consumers? Not being able to buy pharmaceuticals when there's a pandemic, not being able to produce our own steel to rival our enemies, which are trying to take over those industries, not being able to produce our own food and being dependent on other countries. The president has completely reset that entire paradigm and taken the United States of America to a place that rivals former dominance around the globe, which is what we're used to living in. We just don't really think about how that happens every day, and it wasn't happening for the past 40 or 50 years. We were handing our country away to everybody else. This president has, and I think he won the election, generally speaking, because people kind of not necessarily, it wasn't in the forefront of their consciousness, but they were tired of America being a second place, being seen as a second-rate country, and headed in that direction. And he's, in 1 year, completely reset that paradigm.
That's the idea of the MAGA movement. When we come back, Congressman, I want to ask you about the House Oversight Committee. You were one of 5 who joined to basically subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi about this whole Epstein thing. I want to ask you about that when we come back.
Sure.
And what is there and what is missing right now, and your concern in wanting to bring Pam Bondi, our head of the Justice Department, before this committee. We'll ask Congressman Scott Perry that when we come back right here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, where it is 719.
Fox Sports Update.
Legendary college football coach Lou Holtz, dead at age 89. I'm Jared Max, the man who coached Notre Dame to its last national championship in 1988. Lou Holtz died Wednesday, just over a month since he was reported to have entered hospice care. Holtz, who coached 33 years in college football, was at Notre Dame from 1986 to 96. He also coached at William & Mary, NC State, Arkansas, Minnesota, and South Carolina, as well as 13 games of the 1976 NFL season with the Jets. Chairman of the College Football Hall of Fame, Archie Manning, said Lou Holtz stood for discipline, faith, education, and doing things the right way. College football is better because of Coach Holtz, and so are generations of young men who were fortunate enough to play for him. NFL, New England Patriots are going to release leading wide receiver Stephon Diggs next Wednesday when the new NFL calendar year begins. Diggs played only one season with New England, made 85 catches for 1,013 yards, along with 4 touchdowns. His pending release will save the Patriots $16 million against the salary cap the team would have been accountable for had it kept the 11-year receiver, who is due in court April 1st for his next hearing in a case where he faces felony strangulation and other criminal charges for an alleged incident in December with his now former personal chef, a woman. Not only did NFL Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett recently set the NFL single-season sacks record, Garrett contending for another record, perhaps, most speeding tickets by an NFL player. Late last month, the Cleveland Browns 5-time All-Pro pass rusher caught driving 94 miles per hour in a 70 zone in Northeast Ohio. It was Myles Garrett's 9th speeding ticket since he became an NFL player in 2017. NBA, the league best Oklahoma City Thunder, moved 2 games ahead of the Detroit Pistons for the best record of the league. The Thunder beat the Knicks in New York 103-100 behind 28 points from Chet Holmgren. For more scores, stories, and features, go to foxsports.com. I'm Jared Max.
Get more on the Fox Sports app and foxsports.com.
Welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK 725 with Congressman Scott Perry here this morning. Congressman, the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday voted to subpoena Attorney General Pam Bondi. You were one of 5 Republicans on there who joined the panel, the rest of the panel, in voting to subpoena Pam Bondi. What's on your mind here as far as this is concerned? A lot of people are saying, well, we were supposed to have all the records from the Epstein files out there. There's still some apparently missing. There's apparently some been pulled back. There's some question about, the president and some information about him and an underage girl. Make a little sense out of this for us, will you?
Yeah, sure. My vote on the committee and that issue in particular, I think, reflects the frustration of my bosses, my constituents, but not only them, my frustration as well. And it's not limited to Epstein, but for instance, I wonder about, her statements where she said, this is horrific, it's sitting on her desk.
Right.
And then shortly thereafter, it was like nothing to see here. I wonder about how millions of documents are released, and within hours, her next and the deputy says there's not going to be any further prosecution. Well, how do you know that? Like, have you looked through all this stuff? Because we're not just seeing it.
Right.
And so, well, I just want to I want some clarity on those questions. And quite honestly, I want clarity on questions like, is anybody that violated the civil rights of Americans during J6 ever going to be prosecuted? Or are there going to be prosecution for like Clapper and Brennan and the people that, our committees in the House have sent what we call criminal referrals to the Department of Justice, because we can't prosecute anybody, but we can refer prosecution to the Department of Justice for evidence of crimes that we found, yet we see no evidence of that. So the American people, including the people in South Central Pennsylvania in the 10th District, are looking for accountability. Right. And I, for one, and I think many of those people would like to know if there's going to be any accountability whatsoever for anybody.
One of the things that I was reading when I was getting ready for this, CBS reported it on Tuesday, that as of late February, the Justice Department has taken down more than 47,000 files comprising about 65,500 pages of information that they had put out there and now pulled back. Will that be one of the questions that the committee will be asking them about?
Yeah, I think it will be. It's just look. This is. I know that oftentimes it looks like we're going to confine our questions to this issue or that issue, and I'm sure that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are going to ask exclusively about Epstein. And I'm just going to say this right now: I don't know if there's more information or something like that out there that we haven't seen. I don't know that. But I haven't seen anything that implicates President Trump in anything untoward that regarding Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
Now, my compatriots on the other side of the aisle, that's what they're living for. Let's be clear. That's all they want. But I have questions unrelated to that about all kinds of other things that haven't been answered to my satisfaction, and this is going to be my opportunity. And, the alternative was they said, well, the Attorney General said we can come in and get briefings kind of in small groups or on our own. It's not just me that wants to know this. It's the American people that want to know all these answers to these questions. So, I took the opportunity on behalf of the people I represent to ask the question, and so that's why I voted in that fashion. It's not a Republican-Democrat thing. It can't be. The truth can't have an agenda. We just want the truth, and then we'll figure out what the agenda is.
Yeah, we can't be afraid of that. I think that's the key is that, we can only give you so much here. And a lot of people are worried, well, is it just the high-ranking, taking care of the high-ranking people hidden behind the scenes on whatever issue? And all people want to know is, okay, what is the truth? As you said, the truth doesn't know a side. The truth is the truth. We'll deal with it. Just put it out there, and we want to know. Congressman, great having you this morning. Thank you so much for taking all the questions and giving us your thoughts on some of the big issues of the day. Really appreciate it, and we look forward to our next time very soon.
Great to be with you, Gary. God bless you.
Thank you, Scott. You too. Take care. Congressman Scott Perry here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. And I think, what we said right there is so important that the truth is the truth. We're big boys and girls. We can handle the truth, right? Just put it out there and let it be what it is instead of trying to color it, hide it, keep it back. When you do that, it really makes it look like somebody's trying to hide something, and we don't need that. When we come back, Ryan Fox takes on the markets and tells you what's happening there. They've been kind of volatile here of late. And Ryan of Houston Fox Financial Advisory Services next up at 7:35, all here on the Gary Sutton Show, where it is 7:30. And welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show here on WOYK. Always love this song. Yeah. Ready? Here we go. Need to have a little, let this germinate a little bit.
Brothers Johnson and the song Stomp.
Yeah, it was a good song. Good hard driving bass. Give me a good hard driving bass in the morning. I'm ready to get out of bed. Yeah. Anything else, I could lay in for a while. Brothers Johnson. Yeah, you don't hear about them that often, but this song has stuck around for a long time. You play this, everybody goes, "Yeah, this is great." Who was that? Oh, Brothers Johnson.
It's a Friday night driving downtown song.
Exactly right. Ready? Here we go. You'll know the chorus. Everybody together now. Go ahead. In the neighborhood, in the fields, all right, gonna stop all night. Yeah, there I guess. Just our little, we became part of the Brothers Johnson there for a second.
Hey, Gary,
yeah.
Ryan's waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Ryan Fox, Houston Fox Financial Advisory Services. We were singing along. I'm sure Ryan was too. Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I was not singing. I don't know what song that was.
What? Do we really have him on for a segment now? I cannot believe you don't know what that was.
Yeah, maybe you think I'm Tim Barker from yesterday.
Oh, very nice. Touche. You put one on the board right there. That was very nicely done. Ryan Fox, Houston Fox Financial Advisory Services, with us here on a Thursday morning. Yeah, this Brothers Johnson's, it was just a good song for those of us of a certain age, which you were kind of referring to there, I think, in your most pleasant, nice way. But, hey, great to have you on this morning. Hey, the markets have been nuts here lately. Obviously, the Iran conflict having something to do with some of that. But give us a little insight here this morning, my friend.
Yeah, so my typical routine in the morning is I wake up and I'll check a couple of emails, and I do the same thing on the weekend. And I got up Saturday morning and I had a client email that said, hey, just a reminder, I need some money at the end of March in light of everything going on. And I thought, what's going on now? So I turned the TV on, and next thing you know, we've launched an attack to take out the risks in Iran. I'll just leave it at that. And, markets have responded to that. The last 5 days, the Dow's down about 1.5%. NASDAQ's down a little bit more. S&P right there, too. Year to date, we're kind of teeter-tottering between in the green, in the red. We're right at that flat line right now. But last 12 months, Dow's up 14%, S&P about 18%, and NASDAQ's up 20%. So we're seeing markets overall doing fine. But, yeah, the last couple of days certainly have been volatile.
Well, you had this sell-off earlier in the week, and are we recovering from that at all, Ryan?
We have, yeah. So Monday and Tuesday saw, when the market opens at 9:30, we saw a lot of selling.
Right.
People getting out of the way of the market. And then by the time the market closes at 4 o'clock, which many times in my world feels like a lifetime because of how much fluctuation there is, buyers came back in, pushed the market up. We still closed down, but yesterday was a rally, and we'll see where today is. And I think a lot of it is that this sort of volatility is typical when we see these geopolitical issues going on. If we look back historically, these types of risks really don't lead to sustained volatility for stocks. And what I mean is, if we go back, research shows over 1, 6, and 12 months after these major world events, whether it's the current Middle Eastern situation or we go back in time, markets tend to be higher, sometimes significantly higher, and it kind of falls in line with historical averages. So we go back and look at Korea, Vietnam, Suez crisis, Cuban Missile crisis, the first Iranian hostage crisis in 1979, and through present, the only time really we had a one-year return that was negative was 1973, when we had the Yom Kippur War and the associated oil supply crunch over that time, too. And that's really the biggest risk right now to markets. It's not the actual fighting. It's what happens if we see a significant spike in oil prices that would be persistent. And what I mean by that is, if that would happen, can the economy handle it? And some of the research I was reading just yesterday and actually last night too, says where the global economy is and the United States economy, we can withstand that right now because we're still in what they call an accelerated earnings situation, meaning that corporate earnings are still doing pretty good. And it doesn't hurt that the Fed is looking to start cutting rates again, probably later this year, too. But that's trading Hormuz they talk about, with 20 to 25% of the world crude coming through there. That's a big deal. But the other one that I read about, and I haven't heard a lot about, is 33% of the world's globally traded fertilizer comes from that Gulf, too.
Huh.
So now we have a planting season starting to be underway, Asia, Europe, around the world. And if there would be some sort of shock to fertilizer, imagine the ripple effect across food supplies in the world. So that's one that's probably more scarier than anything, because we can live with higher oil prices, but, for global humanity, we've got to have fertilizer to produce the crops we need to feed some of the exploding populations around the world, too. But, so overall, markets have handled it well. Today, the futures are down a little bit. That's just an indication of market open. And, really right now, what we don't want to fall victim to in portfolios is headline risk, where we try to make trades based on headlines and fears of what could happen. But, holy smokes, what a change that since, 1979, Iran's been this challenge for the world, and now Iran's responses they're attacking everyone in their neighborhood.
Let me ask you this question, Ryan. Over the past year, since President Trump has taken over his second term, we've had a lot of volatility in terms of, the geophysical world that we have out there. Venezuela, the various things that are happening every day, tariffs, all of that kind of stuff. Now the Iran situation. And have the markets been more volatile based on those political events and those world events during that time than maybe you've seen in the past? I just wanted to maybe a point of comparison, maybe not at all. I just thought I'd throw that question out to you.
No, that's a good. It's been about a year since we had the market with they called it the tariff tantrum, where markets sold off because of all the sudden tariffs and fears of crashing the global economy, things like that. But it seems like every geopolitical or major headline or major economic news from the last year through now, markets have had a more and more muted response, meaning that first one was a 20% sell-off. Next one was 18, then 14, then 12. Well, right now, we're in the Middle East, and markets are still bouncing within, a couple percent of all-time high. The Dow hit 50,000. It's at 48,660 right now. I think markets are starting to turn a blind eye towards some of this because markets are driven by the forward projection of corporate earnings. And I think a lot of it has to do with, more and more people, more and more traders, more and more firms are saying we're looking over the horizon past some of these events, and what we see looks very good. We don't want to try to time the market to sell now and buy back in, hopefully lower. But the way this market's going right now, that's really a fool's game, I think.
One other thing, you mentioned tariffs there for a moment. We just had that ruling by the Supreme Court the other week about the tariffs under the IEPP or IEPA. They couldn't use those. Has there been a reaction, any kind of sustained reaction by the markets in terms of how those are going to get paid back to companies and that kind of thing? Because that kind of went to bed, obviously, with the whole Iran thing going on. But nevertheless, very important ruling and a very important reaction coming up.
Yeah. No, the markets have been pretty muted to that because I don't think it was a real big surprise. But one of the things to keep in mind is if, FedEx, for example, gets a massive refund, well, that's stimulative to the economy because now you have major U.S. corporations getting cash back onto their balance sheets. What are they going to do with it? They're going to buy back shares. They're going to hire. They're going to use it for technology spending into this whole CapEx, artificial intelligence world. So I think markets probably thought it may be a good resolution to the issue. So we'll see. But, very, very muted response because I think there's an awful lot of dust that has to settle really before it's very clear on, what potential impact it could have, but mostly positive, a lot less negative, because at least there's some clarity coming to this whole tariff situation.
Yeah, well said. Well said. You have a tip for us each week. What do you have for us today?
Yeah, so Inheritance Balancing Act. And I ran into this recently, and I thought I'd bring it up. So estate planning varies from family to family. We have blended families, second marriages, adult children who are responsible with money, some maybe who aren't. We have, grandchildren, charities, and it can be overwhelming to a lot of people. But inheritance planning really comes down to estate planning, and what's the goal in terms of passing any remaining assets to the next generation? What does it look like? And you know what I hear from people is they care deeply about it. Others say we really don't care. And I think I've heard just about every scenario. But what's important is, to have a sounding board within families, within an advisory relationship, within a legal environment with an attorney, where you can have these conversations that can start to sometimes feel like, hey, we're going to go through this process and figure out what we want. But the time to do that is when husband, wife, surviving spouse, whoever, they're ready to have that conversation. It can't be forced. It has to be done gently, because it always involves a conversation of, hey, when we're gone, what do we want? But we need to keep that front of mind to make sure that we understand if we don't make those choices, someone else may make them for us. So the goal with any sort of inheritance planning is estate planning, and that's the time to get that done is sooner than later. But never feel pressured by anyone to do that.
No question about it. And I think that's something that's important. There are people trying to figure out what's going on financially right now. And as you mentioned, it's been very volatile. There are a lot of things going on out there that have tentacles that maybe go beyond our ability to check on a daily basis. And that's where you come in. At Houston Fox Financial Advisory Services, you have been my financial advisor now for 8+ years. I've been very happy because of communication. I love the communication that we have. You send out reports. You let me know what's going on. And I, tell people about how you do business, because I think it's something that if people are looking for a financial advisor, they might want to consider you. And you do have kind of a free talk, a kick the tires kind of talk with people if they choose to take advantage of that. Tell them about that.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to anyone to help provide them with guidance. But yeah, we're Houston Fox Financial Advisory Services. Sean Houston, Ryan Fox. We're fee-only fiduciaries. So as registered investment advisors, we offer fee-only financial planning services and investment advisory services for our clients. We're by appointment only, 717-398-2040. HoustonFox.com is the website. But what our goal is, anyone we talk to, we want to kick the tires. We want to get to know them. We want them to get to know us carefully, because any sort of financial advisory relationship should be a partnership. Our goal is to partner with their clients along their financial journey, including if it involves, inheritance type planning, those kinds of conversations too. But we're fee-only fiduciaries, and we welcome anyone's phone call to kick the tires. Sometimes we'll say, we like where you're at, let it go, call us back, XYZ. Other times we'll say, let's look at this a little more closely and see if a longer-term relationship might be a fit. And we put all of our fees in writing up front too.
HoustonFox.com is the website. That's HUSTON Fox.com. And right there on the front page of it, they say request a free consultation. And they do mean that in every sense of the word. And as Ryan said, he will let you know if it's something he can help you with, maybe not. But they're very honest about that. Ryan was a financial advisor to my mom. He's a financial advisor to me and my wife, to my sister. I'll tell you what, he's doing a great job, and we really appreciate what he's doing for us, and maybe you consider having him do it for you. 717-398-2040. Very good communication. That's the main thing. Ryan, I look forward to this segment every week. You really kind of enlighten us, and I appreciate you being with us this week, and I hope people will check you out at 717-398-2040. Go to Houston Fox, HUSTON Fox.com. Have a great week, the rest of the week.
Hey, you too, Gary. Thanks for your time. Catch you next week.
Thanks, Ryan. You too. Ryan Fox here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK, always kind of keeping us enlightened on the markets. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more right after this. It's 7:48. welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show. The Eagles coming back here.
Let's see harmony.
Yeah.
Ready?
Somebody's gonna hurt someone.
No?
Yeah.
The night is through.
Yeah. Very familiar song to a lot of us. Maybe not Ryan Fox, but the rest of us. Ryan's younger, which he likes to remind us of. I get it. Anyway, one of the stories yesterday, this has not happened since World War II. A U.S. Navy submarine sank an enemy warship with a torpedo. For the first time since World War II, I was looking at the video. A U.S. Navy submarine sank an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean. The strike marks the first time a U.S. submarine has torpedoed an enemy vessel since World War II. More strikes on Iran naval vessels and infrastructure are expected over the coming days. The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, made the announcement during a Pentagon press conference Wednesday morning. He said, quote, an American submarine sank an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters, unquote, Hegseth said. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death, the first sinking of an enemy warship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war back when we were still the War Department, we were fighting to win, said Pete Hegseth, unquote. American submarines were devastatingly effective in World War II, sinking more than 1,300 Japanese ships, the largest of which was the supercarrier Shinano, sunk by USS Archerfish in 1944. American submarines continued sinking Japanese vessels until the final months of the war. The Iranian ship yesterday was struck by a single M48 heavyweight torpedo. Now, I don't know what that is, but it sounds pretty bad. From a Navy fast attack submarine, said General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, during the press briefing, adding that other strikes targeting Iran infrastructure and naval vessels are forthcoming. So far, over 20 naval vessels have been destroyed since the war began Saturday, along with 2,000 other targets. So what you're hearing about a lot of this is that the United States has been very, very good, along with Israel, on taking out a lot of this infrastructure for Iran right now. But we continue to watch and hope that the mission is successful, hope that it's short-lived, and hope that what comes afterward is better than what was there before.
Now,
Mark?
The really important story, the Brady Bunch home.
Yes, we've talked about that in the past.
It is going to be saved.
Is it really?
It is.
Well, there's a load off.
Here's the story.
The mid-century modern home that served as the Brady Bunch house, home to TV's famous blended family, and a permanent fixture on American screens in the 70s, will now officially become part of Los Angeles history. The LA City Council voted to move forward with granting historic cultural monument status to the famed house in North Hollywood, instantly recognizable from the opening credits of the hit ABC sitcom, cementing its place as one of the city's most iconic pieces of pop culture. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
Did you have a favorite episode of?
I had no favorite episodes of that. I watched it a little bit. And the nice thing about their house, the nice thing that makes it notable is you never have to mow the lawn. They had that AstroTurf one. Remember that? Yeah. They never had to mow the lawn.
Was that split level?
I think it was, yeah. It was an
split.
annoying show. It's one of those shows that was annoying because they always had, someone lost their lollipop, and that was the big issue in the show. We had to find the lollipop or whatever, all that stupid stuff. And it was just...
But, it was a blended family.
Yeah,
so you had...
That is true. That is true.
As opposed to,
right.
Father Knows Best and Beaver.
How the two different families get
Yes.
along. And that was a new topic for that time. So you're right. That's a great point.
So,
how did blended families get along?
And they did it in a somewhat lighthearted way.
By the way, here's a term...
Marsha.
Here's a term that a lot of you probably never have heard. Have you somehow never realized this was even an option? There's even a term for it. A travel hack called seat divorce is in the news after a writer for the Huffington Post did a story. It's for couples who hate middle seats. Most couples automatically just took two seats next to each other. One person has to suck it up and take the middle seat.
Right.
Women often bear the brunt of this because they're smaller or shorter. But seat divorce is when you skip the middle seat completely and both sit wherever you want. Maybe you get aisle seats in the same row, so you'll sit next to each other, or maybe you're not even in the same row, but it's called seat divorce.
I had no idea.
Most people sleep, read, or watch TV anyway, so maybe there's no reason to sit together unless you have kids and need to, tag team it. Or if you're afraid of flying, you need to grab the other person's hand and have the jaws of life separate you when you get down. But, it feels weird, though. They're sleeping in different bedrooms or something. That's sleep divorce. Well, here's seat divorce.
All that just to not sit in the middle seat.
Yeah. Now, it's not for everyone, but apparently it's a pretty common thing a lot of couples do, especially tall couples. One expert summed up the hesitation you might feel like this, quote, "We've been culturally conditioned to equate visible proximity with relational health. Sitting side by side seems shorthand for we're all good." See, but if you both like aisle seats,
right,
or you both like window seats, or you're weird and both like middle seats, which I don't know if anybody likes that, maybe just choose the most comfortable option. It doesn't have to mean your relationship is in trouble. That according to Huffington Post.
Can you be comfortable, like if you're going to fly cross country? Is that possible?
Yeah. See, I want to be able to talk to my wife, and I don't want to have to talk around someone to get to her. What about sitting on the aisle seat in the window seat and letting someone in the middle, and then you talk past them? That gets awkward, right? So you don't want that.
So in the time we have remaining, the northern cardinal is the most popular state bird.
Really? I did not know that.
How many states do you think?
Oh, I'm going to say 7.
Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, North Carolina, Ohio,
5,
Virginia,
6,
and West Virginia.
7.
Yes.
I got it right.
You did.
That was just pure luck. I had no reason.
Up next is the western meadowlark, and that is popular in 6 states. But the Pennsylvania state bird is...
the grouse.
Ruffled grouse.
Yeah, the grouse. I did know that, who I've never seen, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one either.
Anyway, coming up at 8:05 this morning, Joel Sears joins us to break down some policy. And then at 8:35, we welcome in Aaron Anderson here on the Gary Sutton Show, all straight ahead on WOYK. Now, we're going to have news at the top of the hour. And you can also text us at our 833-478-4729, our back 9 text line. But we got more coming your way. Stay tuned. Right here on the main street of York and York County. It is the Gary Sutton Show on 98.9 FM and 1350 WOYK. It's 8 o'clock.
This is York's only local show on York's only local station. This is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK.
Listen to your show every day. It's really good. I have you guys on every morning to wake up to.
Gary Sutton, mornings 6 to 9 on Sports Radio 98.9 FM and 1350 WOYK.
All the things you're talking about are all the things we're talking about. It's Main Street America every day.
And you're getting your money's worth.
You're a brilliant mind, tremendous experience. You're great for the community.
The Gary Sutton Show on York's first station, WOYK.
You had me at hello.
Now, broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios inside Wellspan Park, here's Gary Sutton.
Good morning. If you're just getting up, this is the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK coming to you live from Wellspan Park right here on Brooks Robinson Plaza. Gary Sutton, Martin McKenzie here on a Thursday morning, March the 5th, 8:05, and rocking and rolling as we get ready for the weekend pretty soon here. Coming up tomorrow, it'll be Friday. And all brought to you here by our presenting sponsors. Ann Stein and Sparler, attorneys at law, 117 East Market Street right here in York. They are ready to help you when you need legal representation. And like us, they serve the main streets of York and York County. And they're ready to help you when you need some kind of legal representation or legal advice, estate planning, estate administration. We all have to go through that, right? Family law, sometimes divorce and custody are part of life as well. Municipal law, military law, and other kinds of law as well, business law included. They are ready to help you today at 117 East Market Street right here in New York. They've been around since 1937. So that talks about longevity, and it talks about excellence in service as well. And they've been doing a great job. The phone number, 717-846-8811. The hours are Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. Ann Stein and Sparler, attorneys at law, ready to help you. And, of course, kindness worldwide. What kind of world will we have? We don't have some kindness in it, and we certainly need some today, don't we? Kindness is free, and it's the world's greatest superpower, and it merely requires a personal choice to unleash the vast potential that it has. It all started with Kevin Smith having his wallet returned, and, man, it has turned from a spark into a wildfire around the country and the world, trying to get people to join the movement to change the world with one kind act, one person, one community at a time. What can you do today to make it a kinder place? Check out kindnessworldwide.org for actionable ideas and means to support. See the good, be the good, go the extra mile. Our Back Nine text line is open for you right now. The Back Nine, of course, York's premier indoor golf facility located at 259A Pauline Drive right out there in the South York Plaza next to Giant. And you can go to theback9.com/York-PA. It is never closed. It is 24/7. Golf never sleeps at the Back Nine. So no matter what shift you work here in Main Street, York County, you can get out to the Back Nine and have a little fun playing golf at some of the greatest courses in the world, or just go out and do like I do. Practice on the practice range, set up your targets. You have all kinds of different things you can do there. It is the cutting edge of the golf technology that's available right now. It's the one you see on TV on ESPN all the time. And then finally, our question of the day today, what is the biggest problem that we have in the country today? Biggest problem we have in the country today. You can go in there and answer that question tomorrow. I'll give some of those answers here on the air as well. But feel free. It's Gary Sutton Show at Facebook. You can also find us at Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. And on YouTube today after the show, WOYK, just put that in. You can listen to the podcast again. So all of that going on this morning. And, of course, this hour, famously sponsored by Augie's Joint. This week's specials, the Cali Burger today. Augie's Joint, of course, right there at Central Market, the Beaver Street side. They're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. But the Cali Burger, C-A-L-I, 2 smashed patties on a toasted brioche bun mark, topped with lettuce, tomato, raw onion with American cheese, white American cheese, mayo, and avocado. That's a Cali Burger. And a fried egg is optional on that as well. Now, it's refreshing, but tasty, a tasty way to get geared up for the spring. And we're trading in the hot dog special this week for a cheesesteak special. Mark would like this because he's got a little Italian in his blood. The Italiano. The cheesesteak features a mixed blend of bell peppers, fried onion, provolone cheese, and marinara sauce on a toasted roll of the Italian season. And don't forget, we still have the GSB, the Gary Sutton Burger, which is a chili cheeseburger with Dijon mustard and sweet onion chutney. It is to die for, ladies and gentlemen. Right out there, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. today. Stop by the Central Market right here in York. They're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and pick up one of the great burgers they have out there, or cheesesteaks. And don't forget the angry cheesesteaks there, too. Or if you'd like, the mildly annoying cheesesteak. And also the Augie's Doggy. And you can upgrade to a lunch combo if you'd like, all right there. With that having been said, we turn to Joel Sears this morning, who normally, not Joel Sears?
It's Aaron Anderson.
Oh, we have Aaron Anderson first up this morning, and then Joel Sears after that.
Yes.
Yeah, we flipped him. I'm sorry. So, Aaron Anderson, it sounds a lot like Joel Sears, doesn't it? The name's just kind of... I've got to dance out of this, Aaron, somehow. But good morning, my friend. How are you?
Well, Joel is deeply insulted that you confused us.
Well, yeah, I know. But no, it's great to have you on this morning. I did look down here. And, every now and then we just, you get a little mixed up. Mark has to remind me of my name occasionally. And so, but Aaron Anderson with us this morning. Of course, Aaron, you are the author of a new book that has been out there recently. And we've been talking about that, about big town problems in a small town city, right? And, tell us a little bit about that again.
Yeah, so I wrote this book called Unlikely Good, really based out of the 20 years of experience that I've had living in York. I'm not from this area, but it became over those course of those 20 years, I think I learned that I've lived in a lot of places, Gary. I've lived in Chicago, I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, and here in York. And I saw, this little community, which is, not so small, but it's just a small to mid-sized community, has the same kind of problems that big cities do.
Yeah.
But the big difference is that, it's big enough to have the big problems, but it's small enough that we should be able to come together because there's the smaller place and we know who the players are and be able to solve these problems if we would just not really care who gets the credit and it just kind of develop a spirit of collaboration. And we've been able to see some real progress on that over the course of those 20 years. And so I wrote the book out of that experience.
Let me ask you a question. You've lived in cities like Chicago. You've lived in other cities maybe weren't quite as big, down in North Carolina. As you look at York and the array of good things that are happening, the array of things that need work, what is the biggest item at the top of the list that needs the most work right now, do you think?
I would say, Gary, so there's symptoms and then there's actually the root problem. I look at a place like York where there's still, I think there's still a decent bit of poverty, and in many respects it's really concentrated in particular parts of the community. But I look at that as more of an economic development challenge. I think Yorkers are generous. I think that we've proven that as I've been in other communities where I just don't think the same levels of generosity are there. So I think that's really positive. But I do think over the years we've lost some of our base, some of that economic base, and it's probably the one big challenge that I see could really help us tackle some of the problems of poverty. Is just are we creating the right kinds of jobs that will help lift families, out of poverty into the future. Having been, I used to work in Research Triangle Park down in Raleigh, in the Raleigh-Durham area, and you see the economic development that's happening there. It's just been a game changer for that region, and I'm not sure that I quite see the same activity in York County.
But, when you look at like Raleigh, you look at that whole triangle area there with Raleigh and Durham and I guess Chapel Hill and that whole region, why were they able to grow and get better? And let's say, for example, you don't see the same kind of thing happening here in York. I mean, people are obviously investing there. You got the Research Triangle, you've got businesses going on, and here in York we have a pretty good manufacturing base outside the city, out in the county there, in the northeastern part. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of warehousing going up where there are jobs available, and yet that seems to be what we do here. What could we be doing? How can we create more opportunity for people? I do hear people say, well, there are jobs available, but people aren't taking them right now. What's the void that's missing right there from your vantage point?
So I'm no economic development expert, just to be clear.
I'm just getting your opinion because of your involvement in so many different things.
Absolutely. Well, what I would see is the difference is Research Triangle was a huge block of land that sits between Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, that was really set apart for research and development.
Right,
And so
right.
what I'd say in Raleigh, I'd say that's very different. They brought in, companies. You couldn't exist in that triangle if you weren't doing R&D work. And so, I mean, when I say just like thousands and thousands of jobs in huge facilities, where you had pharmaceutical tech, they brought so much research and development. And what started happening there is people were moving in from all over the country. Most of the people I knew in North Carolina when I was there were not from North Carolina.
They're from the north.
California, New York.
Yeah.
They were from all over. And so I would say the difference is kind of what we're actually seeing in Pittsburgh, I might argue, is a lot of research and development that's really creating a new kind of economy. Whereas what I've seen more of in New York is we have a lot of manufacturing, a lot of distribution. And look, those things are needed. I'm not speaking down about those things, but they're very different kinds of jobs when you're working in a lab working on semiconductors or on pharmaceuticals, creating those versus delivering out of the warehouses. It just creates very different kinds of opportunities for what jobs are going to be created in the community.
One of the problems that you have, and a friend of mine wrote me the other day a text, and he said, "Hey, I drove through downtown New York the other day. There are so many storefronts that are available right now." And, I remember York being the bustling place when I was a kid growing up back in the 1960s and 70s. And York was bustling. And then everything left town and went out to the malls. People were, the town got a bad rap as far as a place that wasn't safe. There wasn't a reason to come here anymore. The Bears department stores, the places that I came to shop, the Gregory's men's store, my dad got his suits, all the various places that you counted on downtown for and you had to come to downtown for, all of a sudden were available elsewhere. What is a reason to come back to the downtown now with business where you've lost the industrial base by and large, and yet there's this romantic yearning to come back to downtown for things other than just government and entertainment, which is what we have right now, and maybe going to the markets. What's a good reason to kind of reinvest in downtown for people from the outside?
Well, I think there is. I would argue. So, just as you outlined there, so much of the shopping and those kinds of things that happened across the country as we built highways out.
Yeah, it was not peculiar just to New York.
Suburbs. Yeah, it happened all over the country, and so this challenge of redeveloping these communities is a real one, and especially in small cities like ours. I would argue, and Gary, I've lived in the city for 20 years. I think there's a level of charm that exists in the city from multiple standpoints, like just the proximity, the ability to walk, the architecture, the beauty of the buildings, all those kinds of things. And I think as you see where there are sections of the city that continue to get built, I think that's part of it is the beauty. I would also argue that people. I know in this county, people are like, I hear from people all the time, like, I don't really want to go in the city. I've lived in the city for 20 years. I lead a school in the city, and I just love the people. I think it goes back to so many of our conversations when we don't know each other, we live in suspicion and fear of each other, and so often that's just not very well founded. I mean, and so I would say you get to interact with people that are very different from you, and you realize there's a richness, there's a goodness that exists there from being able to have those relationships.
No, I think it's well said, and I agree with you. Mark and I are thrilled to be doing our show in the city now. We love being down here. I use the city a lot for a lot of different reasons. I'm a market guy. I love going down to the shops downtown. I love to see people investing in the place. I love to use different parts of the city. I think probably the challenge to York, maybe goes along with the theme of your book, is let's extend beyond Market Street and George Street and Philadelphia Street and get out to all the streets and really try to spread the wealth and get out there and give people reasons to reinvest in the city. A lot of people have done that over the years. A lot of people doing a lot of good work. You see like Crispus Attucks. You see like York Redevelopment Authority. You see, YCEA doing things down here. You see like the Royal Square development groups. You see buildings going up. People are looking to get more opportunity here in the city for people. I think that's where we need to be kind of pointed and figure out, and I've said so often ever since we left town, as so many places did with our industry. And of course, malls are no more. Now you have shopping centers again. But the idea is, what does York want to be when it grows up? And that's kind of what the Research Triangle did. They said, we're going to focus on this. What are we focusing on? I think that's maybe the big challenge that we have going forward. Final thoughts this morning.
Yeah, and when you look at York is an old city, so a lot of our real estate is old, which makes it charming. At the same time, it can be costly to put a new face on that. I mean, I've lived in an old home for a long time, so I could talk a lot about that. So it's not run down. It's much of it is just old, and I see in cities all over where places are built back up and brought back up. And I love seeing people. I remember when I was on the RDA, I love seeing people who live in neighborhoods actually acquire property around them,
right?
And because they'll build it up and they'll build up that those communities. And I think we're seeing some of that happen. I think we need to figure out how to stimulate more of that.
No, it's a great point. Aaron, always good talking to you. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.
Hey, you too, Gary. Be well.
Aaron Anderson right here on the Gary Sutton Show, and sometimes sit-in host for me when I'm away, which he will be later on in March. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more right here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. And welcome back to the Gary Sutton Show here on WOYK. A lot of us heard this song, too, with the beautiful violin intro.
Actually, a keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't, I think her first, she only had 2 hits. Her first hit, which was the biggest one,
right,
you didn't like.
I do like this one.
This one's okay?
Yeah.
Kim Carnes.
Yep, Kim Carnes.
And this one is More Love.
Yeah.
But her first hit you didn't like. Is that right?
You played it the other day and I hated it.
It's Betty Davis Eyes?
Yeah. Well, Betty Davis Eyes was okay. You know why it was okay?
Why is
because it made me think. I had to think about that a little bit. What was that about, Betty Davis Eyes?
Well, she had Betty Davis eyes.
Yeah, Betty Davis looked like a psychopath sometimes in those eyes. But
she was attractive in a different way. Yeah,
in a very a weird way. But she was she was in some horror films and she scared the hell out of me. And
not too many. She was in those drama. Was she in Gaslight?
She was always kind of had a little hardness to her, And
yes, don't mess with her.
Yeah, but she, the alluring eyes were the big thing.
What did she say? Her famous line was, "Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy night."
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of you know I have, if I have a passion, it's about mental illness and mentally challenging things that come up, and I've struggled with that during my whole life, mental challenges. Some other mental challenges, but that's not talking about this. Clinical depression is really what I'm talking about. And I've struggled with that my whole life. Managed to get under control and everything's good. But, a lot of people struggle with that. In fact, over 280 million people around the world plus struggle with that all the time. And we're not just talking about feeling down. We're talking about something that maybe you don't feel like you have control over. And you want to get control. So a lot of people go to psychologists and psychiatrists. They get drugs to deal with it, all those kind of things. And I've gone through all that, all right? But one of the things that I have found that is really refreshing is this York TMS clinic at 1806 North George Street right here in New York. And I find it to be refreshing. Dr. Etienne, who was an orthopedic surgeon for a lot of times, did both my knees, by the way, replaced both of them, and went into another area which he's been very interested in his whole lifetime, which has been this idea of clinical depression. And how can you help people? Well, one of the things he's come across is this NeuroStar treatment. And what it is, it's transcranial magnetic stimulation. It's something new to our area. It's not new, but it's new to our area that people are using right now. It goes right to the source of depression, your brain. It's a non-invasive, non-drug treatment that uses focused magnetic pulses to wake up those areas of the brain that give you balance, that give you good feeling. And it's being used right now at York TMS Clinic with a lot of great results. In fact, 83% of patients saw improvement in depression symptoms. 62% of patients saw symptom relief, remission in a very short period of time. Long-lasting results. Most insurances cover it. You don't need to be referred to by another physician. You can kind of self-refer and go there and stop and visit. You can get information. They have packets right there to explain the whole thing. We even have a video out at Gary Sutton Show on Facebook. If you go in there, you have to page down a little ways, and you will see Dr. Etienne and I did a 20-minute video on this whole thing. It is something worth looking into if you have depression or you know someone who does. Maybe you know a veteran who is suffering from PTSD. Maybe you have an adolescent who's suffering from some things. Maybe you have someone who has OCD. Well, this is the kind of treatment that could help clear that up, but you need to check it out. You owe it to yourself to find out more about it. Stop by 1806 North George Street right here in New York. Get a free packet or give them a call at 717-699-7361. Tell them I referred you. I am trying to help people. This is a cause for me and Dr. Etienne. I want to help people have all the things they need to be not depressed, but have a good balance in their life. 1806 North George Street here in York. It's called York TMS Clinic. Check them out at yorktmsclinic.com. WOYK News Time, 8:28.
So one more story before we get to the bottom of the hour.
Mm-hmm.
And let's do this. Have you ever heard of the gambler's fallacy?
No, I've not heard that term.
It is, and this is, people have a tough time with math, I think. Well, most people have a tough time with math.
Mm-hmm.
And this game happened on a particular day, and this kind of underlines it.
Mm-hmm.
There was an infamous game of roulette in Monte Carlo on August 18th of 1913. So gamblers watched spin after spin.
Right.
And they ended up losing millions because it kept coming up on one particular color. Excuse me. So they thought, oh, well, it's been that color 5 spins in a row, so the next one's going to be red. Well, they kept doing it, and that's how they ended up losing more and more money, and that is the gambler's fallacy. And
the viewer's fallacy, okay.
That is the notion, the false notion, that independent events of chance must somehow even out. And see, that's the key here.
Right.
Each one is different, so there is no evening out.
So each one is a separate event unto itself, is what you're saying.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
That's
Now,
interesting.
Well, but here's the thing. Here's a little kicker. The ball fell, and this is roulette. The ball fell on black how many times in a row?
I don't know.
You want to take a guess?
20.
26 times in a row.
Really?
And that's what so they saw 5, they saw 10. Well, I got to put some money. Is it going to be red next time?
Exactly. It doesn't work like that.
No, it just kept
It
coming
is
up.
what it is.
Yes, it kept coming up black.
By the way, this hour of the Gary Sutton Show being brought to you by Augie's Joint, one of the great places for lunch right here in downtown York. Why don't you stop out there today, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They're open Tuesday through Saturday. Go in the Beaver Street side of the Central Market, and Augie's Joint is the place that people are going right now. And this week, one of the great sandwiches you get, the GSB burger, the Gary Sutton Show burger. Yeah, which is a chili cheeseburger. I came up with this one, by the way, with Dijon mustard and sweet onion chutney, as well as some onions, American cheese. It is fantastic. Get out there and check it out today. I think I'm going to be stopping down there for one today. I need a fix. If I'm addicted, it's to the Augie's Joint, to those burgers. So stop on down there today, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Augie is ready for you. Augie and Jewel and Elijah are just cooking up a storm down there, and they've got all kinds of great sandwiches ready for you this week. We take a break. We come back. Joel Sears finally up next at 8:35 to break down some policy for you here on WOYK. welcome back to Gary Sutton Show. Rocking on here on a Thursday morning where it is 8:35. And we're joined this morning. He normally is with us at 7:05 this morning. I must have moved him around about 15 times this week. He's probably feeling an inferiority complex, but he would be Joel Sears, our policy guy here on the Gary Sutton Show. Good morning, Joel. How are you?
Doing pretty well, Gary. How about you?
Good. Sorry to be so inconvenient this week, but always appreciate when you come in, and I always love the policy questions you bring up. I'm a lover of policy. I'm a hater of politics and a lover of policy, and I always like when we try to break things down in kind of truthful, objective ways, and that's what we do in your segment. What do you have for us this morning?
Well, thank you, Gary. We're going to tie this a little bit to what Aaron said.
Mm-hmm.
Some of what you talked about is coincidental, but when you think about the kind of prevailing thought process wherever you live, he's talking about the research triangle that was intentional.
Right, down in North Carolina.
R&D and big doses of R&D would take place, and that led to the development of some of the most advanced factories and manufacturing in the country. It also attracted a lot of young people. I mean, we all know the Sun Belt states have been growing like crazy, and North Carolina really benefited from that. Not only does it attract people, it retains the people who are already there. So that's a really nice formula. It's a good one to look at.
Right.
Whereas here, what we've heard many times is this thing called local control. Pennsylvania is a local control state. Now, what does that have to do with anything? It's really an excuse to resist state or regional control in areas where it might actually make sense to do that. And looking at the research triangle, that was a regional initiative with state support. I have no idea what kind of resistance, if any, the localities put up to that, because it was really known for its academic concentration to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But here, we just hang on to this notion of local control, and especially in the area of public education. That's the elephant in the room.
Right.
As you know, we have 500 independent, I'll say traditional school districts, and another 150 or so charter districts, which leaves us with this mixed bag of good, bad, and ugly at a cost that currently exceeds about $22,000 a student. It's a lot of money.
Right.
This is all happening at a time, and at the same time, the costs are up, the scores are stagnant and down, and that's a fact. That's a trend that's been going on since about 5 years before COVID. Big losses occurred then. Some of that's been made up, but we're still on a downward trend throughout the state. This is all at the time when the Chinese, in particular, are doing what? They're churning out scientists and engineers at an alarming rate, even in our own domestic universities.
Mm-hmm.
We're still training them to be the scientists and engineers of the world. They dominate in PhDs. They dominate in STEM, AI, and now the life sciences. This is not something that you can just shake your head at or shrug your shoulders at and say, oh, well, big deal. It is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And while our academic Rome burns, one of our legislature's latest strokes of genius was, are you ready for this, to mandate cursive writing. This is big.
I remember, yeah. We talked about that the other week. Yes.
Well, this is because of the brain science now. And I mean, obviously, there's some benefit to being able to control your hand and do fine muscle control. And so that's valid. But is that really an overwhelming reason to make a mandate throughout public education? The other thing is the importance of being able to read our nation's founding documents in their original text. I think there's some validity to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But to think that that's the central issue in public education is amazing to me. And then prior to that, they mandated some form of financial literacy, whatever that is.
Right.
They've made available a number of resources on the Department of Education website, and with that, they sort of turn it over to the districts and say, here, have at it. Okay.
Do I hear you without saying it? And again, I slap me around verbally if you need to, but do I hear you saying let's get back to civics, get some civic kind of thing, some realistic common sense kind of aspect to this that really is going to benefit us in the long run? Am I hearing it the wrong way?
Well, that's part of it, Gary.
Right.
Civics, in a way, is an example of basics.
Right.
So we'll talk a little bit more about a broader approach to curriculum, but that's certainly part of it.
Got it.
We can't expect to have a literate electorate if we don't teach the foundational issues.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
It's really not it's not fair to the country or to the individual to just throw it out and say, here, you go figure it out. And in the meantime, go vote.
Why do we ever unload that? Why? I mean, and just historically, as you look back, where and why did we ever unload that whole idea that somehow that wasn't important? Because it used to be an important part of our elementary and secondary education, right?
Well, that's a good one. All right, let me try this. When you and I were kids, most of the instructors were within 5 to 10 years of their service in the Second World War.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that important? They were pulled together, Gary. Didn't matter what their political leanings were. They were all pulled together. And from that common enemy and that common reason to coalesce, we were creating teachers who walked into the classroom that had a pretty strong appreciation for what they'd just been through and what the country had just been through. So I would say it was a reflection of their current experience as much as anything. Fast forward, or say slow forward 50 years, you get further and further removed from what might have been the last commonly supported war in this country. Hate to use war as an example, but it's a fact. You get farther and farther removed from that. You have political factions that in many cases now look back on even that war and say it was unjustified. And they deny the Holocaust. And you scratch your head and say, how in the world does that happen? What's a fundamental ignorance of history?
Yeah.
So that's a manifestation of what you just said, whether it's history or civics. If it isn't taught and not taught objectively and not taught critically, that's the kind of thing you get.
When I started teaching in the early 1970s, okay, it had already begun to fade out. It was really in the 60s to the 70s that civics was being taken out of the schools, and it used to be a very dedicated, rigorous part of our history teaching and our government courses. And then it got driven by the growing controversy, I guess, over the whole subject, and it shifted focus toward the idea of STEM and the prioritization of tested subjects under No Child Left Behind. That became part of it too. And so we got out of civics and we got into all this other stuff that seemed to be there because, well, maybe civics wasn't as entertaining as it should have been. And yet it was the most important thing that we really need to do was to teach people how to be citizens and what was expected of them in terms of their responsibilities and rights and duties here in this country, right?
That, and then, of course, you can understand the push when you're dealing with a school day that's finite and you have something like the space race. Remember that? I mean, things got really out of control in the late 50s with the emphasis on science and math. Why? Well, because we felt that there was a serious threat from the Soviet Union at the time, and they proved their engineering prowess by being the first one to put a satellite in space.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that changed the game. And then, of course, when John Kennedy was elected, he put down the 10-year challenge to put a man on the moon. There was a tremendous shift in emphasis. So there's the crowd out, there's the relevance, all of these things factor in. And then the third element, in my opinion, Gary, was the liberal rift that found its way into the classroom. So rather than teaching history and civics from the standpoint of, say, objectivity or even a sense of pride, it began to be taught in the sense of guilt and apology for all the wrongs that have been perpetrated over the years. And that, over the course of 20 or 30 years, changes the way people think. You get generations of people who are exposed to that mindset. Well, what do you expect?
Well, and what you saw, and I started to see it a little bit even when I was teaching, the teaching of civics or history from your point of view, not from the point of view of what happened, okay? Because I taught history for 25 years of my life, and, so I always felt there was really a discipline to making sure you taught it the way it happened, not teach it in some revisionist fashion or teach it with some political bent or whatever. And I still feel very strongly about that today. To do that is wrong. That's agenda. That's not, and now that does not say that there's not different looks at history over periods of time and that you can introduce different looks at it and suggestions as to how you might view it. But there is, history happened. It is what it is. And you can't take history and say, well, as I look at it today, that's the way it should have been back then. It's foolish and stupid for people in history to try to do that. So you get away from the idea of teaching a discipline and a curriculum to getting the idea of teaching an agenda, which then bastardizes the way civics is taught because everybody now has split off into right and left and liberal and conservative, all that kind of garbage.
Well, Gary, the hardest thing in the world for us to do as human beings is to put away our own individual feelings and understandings and interpretations.
See, I didn't think that was that hard when I taught history. I did not think that because I was taught the idea of you've got a responsibility to teach history. History is what it is. And the idea and civics is what it is. Now, do things evolve with the Constitution? Now we look at it, cases come up, new precedents are set. Yeah, it does. But your point was to be honest and disciplined to what that was.
Well, and that meant not rejecting people's ideas and opinions who might run counter to yours.
Correct.
And maybe even to put opinion aside when you're talking about history. I don't mean that from the standpoint of student interaction, but the teacher has an obligation to try to be as objective as possible.
No question about it.
That's very difficult. When you're bombarded over the course of 2 or 3 or 4 decades with this leftward drift, especially in the colleges and universities from which our teachers are graduating, it's understandable. I'm not criticizing. I'm just trying to point out what happens.
No, you make a great...
When you swim with the sharks, you look like a shark.
You make a great point. And the other thing, a parallel you could make with that would be news reporting. News reporting used to be just a fax bam. Okay, now news reporting is more of an op-ed kind of look for a lot of places. Not everywhere, but I would say for the majority of places, a lot of people, maybe not as much on the local level as it is on the national level, where people are more interested in the opinion being mixed in there a little bit. And that's what they know because that's what's been kind of put to them over the last 20, 25, 30 years. No question about it.
Don't you think some of that comes from the inability of especially the younger reporters to truly do in-depth investigative reporting? If they investigate deeply, they will not come away, I hope, with something that doesn't do anything more than reinforce their preconceived notions.
Joel, we got to end at that point this morning. I always am left wanting here because I want to go for like 5 hours with you on this stuff, but we only have like 18 minutes today or 13 minutes today. Let's do it again next Thursday morning at 7:05. We'll get you back to your normal spot and looking forward to maybe picking up with this conversation and carrying it forward some more.
I'd like to do that, Gary. I've got a few more things that I think in before we control.
And I appreciate the digging you do there, and I don't want to let that out there for us to forget about. So let's bring it back next week. We'll do a little reviewing like a good teacher does, and then bring some more things onto the table on this. It's a great discussion to keep on carrying on, and I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Gary. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a great rest of the week. Joel Sears here on the Gary Sutton Show on WOYK. We take a break. We'll come back with some final thoughts right after this. like the first time, right? Shalimar.
It's a great little tune.
It is a good tune.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
It's one of those still around. You say, yeah, I can still dig that.
Yes.
Wait, did I say the word dig? I can't believe I said that.
What? Anyway,
I think we're actually getting into spring now. But one of the things to check on, we still have some cold mornings. Now, this morning wasn't so bad. It's like 46. But a lot of cold mornings, what you notice is a drop in tire pressure. That little light comes on in your box there on the front of your dash. And low pressure can affect traction and handling. I took mine in for inspection the other day, and I had them check that because I wanted to make sure it wasn't like a nail in there or a pebble sticking in somehow. And the guy cleared them all. I said, no, your tires are fine. But he said the pressure was down just a little bit, so we had to up it. And I'm nuts about that because, it costs you in terms of mileage. It costs you in terms of how much gas you're using. But one of the things we forget about sometimes is to check the spare too. And if you ever need it in the cold, you're going to be glad you did it if you have that spare all pumped up. And that's a tip from Jack Giambalvo family of dealerships. Speaking of cars, Jack Giambalvo has your next ride available right now, whether it's a new car, one of their 6 great locations, or one of the pre-owned vehicles. And maybe a lot of people right now in the economy are looking at pre-owned vehicles. And Jack Giambalvo has a number of them that are ready to be moved right now as they're making room for new inventory to come in all the time. So maybe you like an SUV or a truck or a sedan. Maybe you like a domestic or an import. If you're looking for it, they've got them at Jack Giambalvo family of dealerships right now. And you can find them at Giambalvo preownedinventory.com, where they have all kinds of wonderful cars ready for you. And what you get with a pre-owned vehicle from Jack Giambalvo is free lifetime PA state inspections for not only you, but anybody in your household. Pretty cool, right? Or the 3-month, or I should say, and a 3-month, 3,000-mile warranty included on most pre-owned vehicles. And here's one of the things you need to know. Their vehicles go through a very, very rigorous inspection to ensure that they're roadworthy and ready to go. That's the Giambalvo way, talking 50-plus years of experience in selling cars here in York County and making sure they are quality cars. Shopping with Giambalvo is fast, it's hassle-free, and it's pressure-free. And all you have, just great cars, great people, and a very smooth buying experience from the beginning to the end. It's all the brands you love, all the choices that you need. And they've proudly been serving New York and Hanover community for over 50 years. Now, these vehicles are going out the door right now. So start your search today and get the one that fits you at Giambalvo preownedinventory.com. That's Giambalvo preownedinventory.com. Or stop in at one of their 6 convenient locations, all right here in York County. Jack Giambalvo family of dealerships, the gold standard for excellence for 50 years. Tell them Gary Sutton proudly sent you. Move fast and feel the Giambalvo difference today.
All right, so let's clean things up. Earlier, Jack Kennedy texted to us using the text line.
That cheese dust, yeah.
Yes, he said, cheese doodles are good because you're supposed to have more color in your diet. Gary responds,
yeah.
Then you have to carry that dust on your fingers around all day. And Jack
yuck
notes that not if you lick them.
Yeah, I know.
And he is right.
And you put a smiley face on
I
that
did.
response.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Everybody knows you've eaten cheese doodles.
Yeah.
Or these cheese curls or cheese balls, because you got that yellow stuff on your hands. And I don't care if you wash your hands, it doesn't come off.
Same thing with Doritos.
Yeah, it's like a telltale sign that you're a cheese doodle eater. I don't want to give that away to people.
National Cheese Doodle Day,
yes.
National Poutine Day, which is the, I think the dish of Canada, national dish. And let's get to a couple of stories.
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say,
yes, please.
The tiny victories that make millennials feel like they've arrived. Millennials take a beating. I mean, we joke about them because we can. But like them or not, they finally arrived at age, they're like 35 to 40 now, right? So someone online asked, what are the signs that you have now made it as a millennial? Because they take a beating. I mean, they really do, and I feel bad for them. And here are some of the best responses. Finally upgrading from a full-size bed to a new king bed. You know you've made it as a millennial when that happens. Being able to put your bills on auto pay, that's a good threshold, right? Not having to, because before they had to pay them because they didn't know how much money they had. Not having to panic when you have a $500 or $1,000 emergency. It's a bummer rather than a major anxiety because they didn't have $500 or $1,000. Having a drink fridge in the garage. You know you've made it as a millennial when you have a drink fridge, separate little item in the garage, paying off your student loans or buying a house after your 20 years of paying them off. Yes, Paying a service to trim a large tree instead of doing it yourself and almost killing yourself. Making it to me is being able to pick my battles. Buying a new couch rather than getting a random hand-me-down from someone. Having plastic hangers that are all the same color. You know you've made it as a millennial when you have that. Seeing your credit score surpass the 800 mark. Buying nice matching glass cups instead of the random plastic cups you got from McDonald's or Burger King. Keeping a houseplant alive for months instead of just it falls apart after a couple of days. Having the money for a nice tattoo every now and then. I haven't thought about that.
Really?
Switching out your 2-week contacts after only 2 weeks. Hiring movers instead of asking friends. And finally, not living with a roommate. You know that you have made it as a millennial when you've gotten to these points.
I would agree with most of those.
Yeah.
So here's, if I said the word flamingo, what state would come to your
Florida,
mind?
absolutely.
Exactly. That's what makes this story a little unusual because it's in Nevada. Or is that Nevada?
Nevada.
Is it?
No.
Is
Whatever. You say Nevada, I say Nevada.
Is it Nevada? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's
you tomato and I say tomato.
Police entered a bird habitat at the Flamingo, Las Vegas early Tuesday morning and allegedly injured several birds before taking one to the 14th floor of the hotel. Investigators say videos show him laughing and saying, quote, "I'm taking it home," while the bird cried out in distress. Hotel security detained the man until officers arrived. Police say he told them he was intoxicated and claimed he was trying to fix the bird's wing. Now he faces 4 counts of animal cruelty, while Caesars Entertainment says the flamingo, named Peachy, is recovering. Matt Murphy, Fox News.
I'm betting
Really?
alcohol.
Really? Yeah. Everybody said alcohol. Really? I can't believe that. Yeah. Just don't forget this hour has been sponsored by Augie's Joint. They've got the Cali Burger up there this week. 2 smashed patties on a toasted brioche bun, topped with lettuce, tomato, raw onion, white American cheese, mayo, and avocado. A fried egg is optional. You can get that today from 10 to 2 out at Augie's Joint on the Beaver Street side of the Central Market. They're open 10 to 2, Tuesday through Saturday. And today's a great day to get out there. Don't forget to ask for the Gary Sutton Burger, which is a chili cheeseburger with Dijon mustard and sweet onion chutney. The Gary Sutton Burger out there today at Augie's. Thanks to Mark. Thanks to you for joining us today. We've had a great day. We'll clean it all up tomorrow on Friday. It is 9 o'clock.